Please stand for the Mayor and the Chief Executive of the London Borough of Hounslow.
Thank you. Please be seated. Oh, lovely. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this council meeting. Welcome to members, to officers, to members of the public, both here and those watching at home. Can I ask everybody, if you've got your telephones with you, to please put them on silent? And can I please remind members that they cannot use social media during the meeting, but those members of the public watching are of course welcome to. Can I check that people have the following agenda documents? Firstly, the main agenda, and secondly, the supplementary agenda published last Monday containing the proposed amendment to the budget. Thank you. So may I remind all members that all debate should be done through the Mayor and without interruptions, and of course respectfully. Budget setting meeting is one of the most important meetings of the year, and we need to help a full and fair debate to take place, which is best done by letting people speak without being interrupted. As we go on to the council elections in May, we need to all be exemplars of the courtesy of public life approach we all have signed up to, and that is a matter of tone. So I'm asking each and every one of us this evening to think seriously about how we engage in the meeting and the debate ahead of us. So let me say clearly now to everyone in the chamber, it's fine to disagree about things, it's fine to be passionate. It is fine to want to make your point, but it is not fine to interrupt or talk over people. It is not fine to barrack any member. It's not fine to snigger. It's not fine to make rude faces or be rude to other members at all. So if that happens, I will intervene if necessary. But as you are all reasonable people, I'm asking you to make sure that I don't have to do that. So we are all of us better than that. Thank you. And that courtesy extends to any constitutional interruptions. Everyone has a right to make a point of order if they need to do so, but I want to remind you that points of order can only be about breaches of the Constitution or law, and they must be made in good faith and not for tactical or political advantage. As my role as Mayor is to make sure that tonight we allow the debates to happen easily and without interruption, for all views to be heard and for the meeting to run smoothly, to allow politics to take place positively and for the right decisions to be made effectively and democratically, working within our rules and constitution and not against them. So I know I can rely on everyone here to help me with this aim. Finally, please do not turn on your microphones until I have asked you to speak to avoid this moving the webcasting cameras too soon. Thank you. We will now move to the first agenda item. So I have received apologies for absence from the following councillors: Councillor Lukey, Councillor Chopra, Councillor Vikram Garewal, Councillor Jagdish Sharma, Councillor Aftab Siddiqui, Councillor Aftab Kiani. Is there any other apologies for absence?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Apologies from Councillor Alan Joseph, who broke down on the way here.
Oh, no. Thank you. Can I ask members to draw their attention to the document in the agenda on declaring interests, which is in the supplementary agenda? So in addition, for this particular meeting, I need to remind all members of your duties under Section 106 of the Local Government Finance Act 1992, which relates to outstanding council tax payments for all properties for which you are liable to pay council tax. If you owe council tax that has been unpaid for at least 2 months, then Section 106 applies to you. This means that you must A, declare that it applies to you at the earliest opportunity, and B, not vote on the recommendations of the report that deal with the budget and council tax setting. May I also remind you that failure to do so is a criminal offence. So can I ask if there are any declarations of interest relating from members? Thank you. In that case, we'll move on to agenda item 2. Apologies. Now we come to announcements. The first this evening relates to Councillor Junu Mia, who has been my very dedicated and diligent Deputy Mayor for this year. You will see that he's not here with us this evening, and some of you may know that he's currently quite unwell. I know that all members of the council will want me to send him and his family all of our best wishes at this time. Junu, our thoughts are with you and your family. Thank you. Can I now ask if any Cabinet members wish to speak? Yes, thanks. Councillor Sheen.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'm very pleased to announce that yesterday, alongside the leader of Ealing Council, the Deputy Mayor of London for Energy and Environment, the Environment Agency, the National Trust, the Canal and Rivers Trust, I signed our agreement to forge a new West London regional park. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to connect the waterways and landscapes and green spaces between our two boroughs, between Ealing and Hounslow, taking in everything from the highlands up in Horsenden Hill, down the spine of the River Brent, into Osterley Park, and also right down to the River Thames, where the Brent meets the Thames at Brentford. 500 hectares of land and waterways that can be connected for the benefit of up to 2 million residents in the region, in the wider region, and to enhance our local environment as well. And I'm very pleased to say that we're being given, not just us, Ealing as well, for this project, almost £1.5 million from the Mayor of London to see this forward. It's just the beginning. Lots of work to be done. A lot of collaborations to happen, but we're taking the first steps. We're committed to it. Many years ahead, but I'm very excited about it.
Thank you, Councillor Sheen. Councillor Bath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've got two announcements to make. I think you'll remember back in November, I announced that we just launched our service for unpaid carers, and I just wanted to give you an update on that. As you know, carers provide an invaluable service to the people that they're looking after, whether it be a relative, a friend, or somebody that they know well. And we want to do as much as possible here at the council to support our carers, because if we support the carers, we know that the people that they're looking after are more likely to stay healthy, and hence less pressure on acute services. So this is one of the reasons that we launched our service for unpaid carers, and I'm pleased to say that since we've launched it, we've introduced carer cafes, information tables including support to carers to help them claim for benefits, help them fill in forms, etc., and of course support groups as well, so that they can connect with other carers. I wanted to actually thank all of the teams within the council for supporting this work, but I really wanted to pay a particular thanks to our cabinet assistant, my cabinet assistant rather, Councillor Mardia Seam, who's been leading on this work. I mean, it's a really important piece of work. We're seeing some really good outcomes, so a great thanks to her for leading on this. My second announcement is about our public health work, and I really wanted to give a bit of a shout to our public health teams, because sometimes we kind of are not really fully aware of what they do, but they do an awful amount of work behind the scenes. So I wanted to highlight a particular area that has been really successful, and this is our Hounslow Falls Prevention and Bone Health Service, which provides specialist clinical triage, comprehensive falls assessment, and targeted interventions for adults aged 65 or over who have fallen or at the risk of falling. And so far, this service has received over 1,362 referrals, with 82% of patients having shown improvement in their It says Tinity scores. I don't know what that means, but I will find out for you. And 81% have improved their balance. So again, a really important service to support our residents. Two really good services there that we want to sort of really encourage our residents to use. So if you do know anyone, for example, who wants to use a full service, please let us know. Or also, if you know of any carers that might be looking for some support, please let us know as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bath. Any other Cabinet members? Yeah, Councillor Dunn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to announce that Hounslow has secured £10.5 million from the UK Government's Green Heat Network Fund. You may have read this announcement before, but I am incredibly excited about this, so I make no apologies for announcing it again. This will kickstart a major low-carbon heating scheme that will transform how homes across the borough are heated. The heat will use waste heat from Mogden sewage treatment works, and the network has the potential to supply up to 3,000 homes in the first phase. It will supply clean, reliable heating to our local buildings, homes, businesses, hospitals, anywhere that uses heat can use clean heat using this network. Now, compared to traditional sources of heat energy, the Hounslow Heat Network will make the borough cleaner and more resilient in the face of future gas price spikes, and we've all experienced them. The scheme will also use local supply chain to deliver cost-effective decarbonised heat and will create significant skills and employment opportunities. Initial construction activity will begin in 2028, and once complete, the project is expected to deliver 50 gigawatts of low-carbon heat each year, cutting annual emissions by an average of 6,690 tonnes of carbon dioxide equivalents compared to existing heating systems. And that's the equivalent of removing 3,800 petrol cars from the road. Personally, I am incredibly excited by this project. The 10.5 million from the government is just the start. This represents potentially hundreds of millions of pounds of investment into the borough, supplying affordable and reliable heat to people's homes and businesses, cutting carbon emissions and improving indoor air quality. I'm also excited to announce, and this one is hot off the press, that the Electrifying Hounslow consultation on proposed electric vehicle charging points across the borough has opened today on Let's Talk Hounslow. Residents can have their say on the location of charge points in 14 wards until the 30th of March, and consultation on the remaining wards will take place after the election. This programme supports the move away from petrol and diesel vehicles towards cleaner transport. We know that transport is one of the biggest carbon emitters in the borough, so this is really important for us in cutting carbon emissions, but also vitally in improving air quality for the health of everyone in the borough. And just a quick roundup of other consultations currently available on the Let's Talk Hounslow website. That includes the public transport plan, which is open until the 15th of March, and the climate change resilience plan, which I'm told is open until the 27th of March.
Thank you, Councillor Dunn. Councillor Ajmer Garrywell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My announcement is on our community hubs. And I'm proud to say that unlike many councils, we have increased focus on localities, community engagement, and building thriving communities. This is what makes us different and gives us an opportunity to articulate and promote our model, which has been highlighted by the corporate peer review team and other councils. We've invested in transforming our libraries, not closing them. We've transformed all of our 11 libraries, and I'm pleased to announce that they are now called community hubs and libraries, and bringing services closer to people's homes. They're very welcoming spaces where more than 13,000 residents have got help with bills, health, sports, skills, and much more. And this is a great achievement for the borough. Very proud of it. And I want to thank our wonderful localities team who worked very hard in delivering our community hubs and supporting our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Garrywell. Councillor Pritam Garrywell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to speak about our new and improved website, which is live now. The upgrade is a key milestone in our Transforming Community Experience program, designed to give residents a smoother, more consistent, and more accessible online experience. The new website offers improved navigation and enhanced search functionality, making it easier for residents to find the information and services they need quickly and confidently. Further improvements to online services will continue to roll out in the coming months as we build on the foundation. This launch marks an important step forward in our commitment to delivering excellent, resident-focused digital services. I'd like to pass on my thanks to the officers for their hard work. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Garrywell. Councillor Sue Sampson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We've been doing some work within the housing area, and it's basically to free up the larger sized accommodation. So I just want to make everybody aware of what the work that we've done and how we're doing this. So prior, there used to be the like the downsizing policy, which we've increased to £2,000 a bedroom, where it used to be £1,000 overall. We've had a huge take up on that since last year. This is all to enable to reduce the housing waiting list, and secure back the larger sized accommodations. We're also doing a piece of work around the sheltered schemes. Again, we have a lot of residents that won't move into sheltered accommodation because they don't want to give up their pets, and rightfully so. I'll make them right. So we will be consulting on that in the summer, with the hope again to freeing up larger sized accommodations to help those families that are currently in need on the housing waiting list, to reduce the numbers. So it's two good pieces of work that's coming and that's happened, and I just want to make everybody aware that that's accessible now to all the residents of Hounslow.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson. Councillor Shivraj Garrywell.
Sorry. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a few announcements, and they're good news. The first one is Spaceway. Spaceway was under booking system since COVID, but we recently decided that we suspend the booking system from Monday to Thursday, and residents will have to provide IDs when they go, so that we can encourage them to recycle rather than flight it. My second announcement is enhanced street cleansing plan. We are investing £750,000 to enhance the cleanliness of the streets, ensuring everyone has a pride in where they live. And my third one is fly tipping, hotspots, and posters, which everybody's talking about. Over the past few months, Councillor Pritam Garrywell and I have undertaken a series of walkabouts in the with officers and fly tipping hotspots across the borough, resulting in concrete actions to reduce fly tipping. After a walkabout in Bedfont Pits last October, we authorized works to clean up the area and improve safety. Residents welcomed this improvement when we met them during our follow-up in December, as well as this tomorrow. We will be visiting Kingsley Road, where we will develop a plan to tackle the fly tipping issues there. We would like to thank the officers and their hard work and our cabinet assistants, Councillor Tony Lukey and Councillor Tuck. Incredible councillors. I really enjoyed working with them, and they have been assisting us in arranging the hotspot visits series. A whole street environment improvement day is planned at Church Road, which is in Cranford, to include cleansing and road defects repairs, which have been there for quite some time. And Cranford councillors, some of them hadn't been not paying any attention. Unfortunately, they are not with us anymore.
Thank you, Councillor Gurriel. Councillor
Oh, I've
Chowdhury.
got two more.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
My apologies.
Okay. The fourth one is the DFT grant covering 4 years approved, 874K in year one, with further amounts to be announced to spend on highway schemes in addition to our PFI funded schemes. Additional grant funding from TfL has been provided to support a road safety delivery campaign as well. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Gurriel. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have two announcements to make. My first announcement is on our work to establish a dedicated youth mental health hub that will provide an accessible, supportive space in a single location. Poor mental health amongst young people is contributing to rising mental health presentations at A&E departments, and there are increasing level of self-harms. The hub aims to improve outcomes for young people by offering early intervention support that helps prevent mental health needs from escalating to crisis point or resulting in A&E attendance. The early phase of the hub will run as a pilot funded by NHS colleagues with focus on regular themed events and awareness raising activities designed to engage young people in open conversations around mental health and to establish the hub presence within the community. Engagement sessions are being planned across schools in the borough to gather young people's input and ensure their voice informs the design and development of the hub. Development of the hub aligns with wider council priorities in our corporate plan. Work is in progress to incorporate elements of the Families First Partnership Programme and the Council's autism strategy, ensuring the hub supports the coordinated and inclusive approach. So my second announcement is about Rise and Thrive. I'm really excited to announce that a new youth club has opened in Balwinder House in Feltham. The council enabled Rise and Thrive to take over the space last month, and they are now using to engage young people and their families. This arrangement runs until the end of the calendar year, during which we will work with Rise and Thrive and local residents to review the club's progress. This is just one example of our commitment to expanding opportunities for young people. Alongside that, 1.15 million we have invested through the Thriving Community funding since 2024 to support youth groups. Thank you to Councillor Ajmer Girewal and all the officers for a great work on TCF funding, and with valuable support from Councillor Shakil Akram in his role as a Cabinet Assistant. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. That's the end of the announcements. We'll move on to the next item. Do any members have any petitions to present? Yes, Councillor Ramsey.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a petition signed by just under 2,000 people calling on Hounslow Council to cancel a £1,000 fine given to a single mum in Feltham for placing a cardboard envelope next to an overflowing communal bin near her home. The petition was started by local media outlet My London and follows a number of similar cases right across the borough. I think we all came into politics to make the lives of residents easier. I don't think this does that, so I urge the council to listen to this petition. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other petitions? Yes, Councillor Dennison.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Without wishing to embarrass Thomas, I'd just like to resubmit a petition that was put in on the 10th of December last with reference to the Field Lane waste and recycling collection scheme. This was a petition of 84% of the affected residents protesting that the moves would mean that disabled and elderly residents would be forced to move their waste and recycling far farther distances than both the caretaking team and the waste collection team. I have emailed it again to Thomas this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Dennison. Are there any further petitions? Thank you. We now move to the second part of the process. We have no petitions for consideration at the council meeting itself this evening, so may I ask members to note the petitions listed in the report. Thank you. This is going swimmingly well, isn't it? Let's move on to item 4. Now we move to item 4, which is our substantial item on the budget report. May I remind members that the law requires the council to hold recorded votes on all substantive decisions relating to the budget or council tax. Therefore, all votes taken in relation to the contents of this report and the supplementary agenda will be recorded. However, just so that we are clear, votes on purely procedural matters will be taken in the usual way unless members specifically ask them to be recorded. I also wish to remind the council that under our newly agreed constitution, both political group leaders may speak for 10 minutes on their main speech. All other speeches must not exceed 3 minutes. Members will see that a supplementary agenda containing a proposed amendment from the Conservative group has been received. And so to explain for everybody here the way in which the debate will work, the proposer and seconder of the original report will speak first. Then we will have a short period for questions. We will then move on to the proposed amendment and deal with that next, including with the debate. And then there will be a recorded vote at the end of the discussion on it. We will then finally debate the substantive item after this, taking into account whether or not it has been amended by the previous debate, and then vote on it. All votes will be recorded votes, as this is required by law, as explained previously. So therefore, I now invite Councillor Shantanu Rajawat to introduce the original report. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Famous last words, maybe not. I'm incredibly proud to present this Labour administration's 4th budget and the budget for 26-27. This is a budget built on fairness, built on responsibility, a budget grounded in our values, and a budget driven by ambition and achieving the very best for Hounslow. This is a budget that invests in people, protects services residents rely on every day, and prepares Hounslow for the vast opportunities ahead. Because in changing times, what matters most is simple. Residents need a council they can rely on. Now, Madam Mayor, I declare openly my own personal interest in this budget. I grew up in this borough, in Hounslow West, Hounslow Heath, Heston Central, and now Heston West. And I'm proud to live here with my family. Proud that my wife has a community she is familiar with. And proud that my son is receiving his education in a Hounslow school. I know what our neighbourhoods are like, the pressures families face, the cost of living worries people carry every day, and the pride residents feel in their communities. I also know the opportunities that exist here, the belonging, the diversity, and the welcoming embrace that makes Hounslow so special. So when we set this budget, we did not do so as an abstract financial exercise, but with a clear purpose: to prioritise, to help and to invest in the people who live here. This Labour administration listens to all communities in all wards. We are determined that in Hounslow there will be nowhere and no one left behind. Now, we know the cost of living crisis is still a major concern for residents. Families are still feeling the pressure of higher prices, housing costs, and everyday bills. And that's why our priority remains protecting the most vulnerable and supporting residents early before problems become crisis. This budget supports where residents live. We are investing £4.3 million in our Family First programme and family hubs, as Councillor Chowdhury said, helping families early and preventing hardship later. Continued investment in our well-loved community hubs, improving access to local support when residents need it, where they need it. And Hounslow Care Together, bringing together the council, NHS and voluntary sector to deliver personalised care closer to home. We're delivering extra care housing at Neen Gardens in Hanworth, 50 homes allowing older residents to stay near family and friends. We're investing 11 million in children's residential and short break accommodation so young people can stay in the borough and families receive the support that they need. And I am really proud to announce that we are extending council tax support to care leavers up to the age of 25. We're also investing in special education needs provision, including £1.5 million for preparation for adulthood. And we are funding opportunities for young people and communities, breaking down barriers and strengthening neighbourhood support networks. This is what an inclusive council looks like, supporting residents at every stage of life. Now we know, and that residents have told us in resident surveys, that they want clean streets, safe pavements and quality public spaces. So we are investing more than £3 million in parks, including Hounslow Heath, Hanworth Air Park and Lambton Park. We're providing an additional £750,000 for street cleansing and neighbourhood pride. And we're investing £32 million next year, rising to £150 million to improve our housing estates. And we will deliver all of the 22 footway renewal schemes through our pavement pledge. These are real improvements, improvements residents will see where they live. We're also preparing Hounslow for the future. We will allocate over £125 million to new social homes and continue our council-led house building programme. We're investing in town centre regeneration, a new Brentford leisure centre, and infrastructure that unlocks jobs and growth, from Feltham to the Golden Mile and the West London Orbital Railway, because opportunity must reach every part of our borough. Now, none of this happens by accident. None of these investments would have been possible without years of careful financial management by us, and now a Labour government that has righted the willful underfunding of Hounslow by the last Conservative government. None of these investments would have been possible if we'd spent our reserves recklessly. And none of these investments would have been possible if we turned our backs on growth and regeneration. Responsibility is what allows ambition. Madam Mayor, this administration believes in bringing communities together, not dividing them. We work with residents, businesses, and partners to deliver solutions. We listen to every voice across every ward. That stands in contrast to the divisive and bitter rhetoric that is being ramped up far too frequently across our nation. Our approach is different, inclusive, practical, and focused on outcomes, because local government should improve lives, not score political points. This budget supports families facing pressures today. It improves the services residents depend on every day, and it prepares Hounslow for tomorrow. It reflects our belief that strong public services and strong communities go hand in hand. A council that believes in everyone's potential, takes pride in our communities, champions our places, and will be relentless in seeking growth. Madam Mayor, I commend this budget to the council.
Thank you, Councillor Radrat. Can I invite Councillor Tom Bruce to second the report and speak if he wishes to do so?
I'm happy to second the report and I'll reserve my right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. As members will remember, for reports referred to Council from the Cabinet, our new Council procedure rules make a distinction between questions and debate and require questions to be asked first and then the usual debate to follow afterwards. This means that we first have question stage where members may ask one question of Councillor Rajawat on the report, and then after that we will move to the amendment before we then move on to the debating stage afterwards. Therefore, do any members have a question that they wish to put to Councillor Rajawat? Okay, in that case, I'm going to start with Councillor Sharma.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With 125 million being allocated for the delivery of new council homes, would the leader be able to give further details on some of the projects we can look forward to in the years ahead?
Thank you, Councillor Sharma. Absolutely a valid question. We're absolutely committed to building, to house building, because ultimately when we hand over a house to a resident, we are securing their future. It's really, really important. There's projects already in the pipeline at Charlton and Albany. We look to bring forward Hamworth Park House and Convent Way, which are estate regenerations. But also, it would be remiss of me not to talk about our groundbreaking public partnership, us, the GLA and the MOD, bringing forward a large parcel of land in Feltham, which will be mixed use, both housing and commercial, that will tie into the wider regeneration of Feltham as well. I think this underscores our commitment across the borough, not only in terms of housing, but mixed use developments that benefit and create communities.
Thank you, Councillor Rajawat. Councillor Mosley.
Thank you. Previous Conservative budget amendments have argued a greater use of council reserves were needed. In 2024, they argued in favour of an £8.8 million raid on our general reserves. Can the leader explain the impact this would have had on the council's current finances had we listened to them?
Well, of course, I mentioned in my speech that the Labour government have looked at funding, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But the simple answer, Councillor Mosley, is this. If we followed their advice, I think we're applying for EFS right now. Because they would make sure that there was no council left. Now, I've got my theories on why they would do that, and we'll come to that a little bit later. But I'm really grateful to the Labour government who have actually looked at local government financing, what we call fair funding, and looked at factors such as deprivation and the real cost of services, and are funding us appropriately. Now, that won't change the years of underfunding from the previous Tory government, but it does go a long way in order to help us balance this budget and think into the future.
Thank you, Councillor Rajawat. Councillor Emsley.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Appendix C states that of the £26 million worth of savings proposed in this budget, a fifth of those come from an increase in fines being levied on residents. Now, half of that's because of the GLA uplift. Half is from new fines. That's about 23,000 extra fines. I suppose my question is twofold. One, why or how would we be able to issue 23,000 new fines? Is there going to be an increase in bad driving? And if we can't, what is on the chopping block to be cut to make up that deficit instead?
So, thank you, Councillor Elmsley. So, our policy around this is to increase safety and to stop bad behaviours. Now, I don't have a crystal ball. We can base it on forecasts, but certainly if someone is doing something that is unlawful, they will receive a fine and they will pay that fine. Of course, in an ideal world, we won't issue any fines, and so it won't appear in the budget papers. I'm not going to forecast into the future. That's not my role. It's in the budget papers, but certainly this is all about safety, and where people do something wrong, they are fined accordingly.
Councillor Gill, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Leader, You referred to the Golden Mile and its potential, which of course is one of the highest growth areas in London. Can you kindly give further details as to how this budget would help?
Thank you. I'm really proud that we've got the Golden Mile in our borough. It's an ever-evolving part of the borough, and it is, as you say, one of our key growth areas. This budget will help in terms of unlocking some of the social housing that needs to come forward in that, but also providing support for businesses in terms of a prospectus talking about the Golden Mile as a whole. We already know that there are significant developments at Sign Lane and at the old GSK building, plus potentially a motorsports world further down. So there's a lot of activity, and in many respects, we are conveners, and having the ability to think about what that can look like and really think about the place is really important. And in fact, next week I'll be out talking up our borough to international investors that will come in and support us on that journey.
Thank you, Councillor Rajwat. Councillor Farmahan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Rajwat, you mentioned that 750,000 invested in street cleanings. Would you be able to provide further information about what the meaning for individual streets? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Farman. Yeah, I'm really proud of this investment. Again, Fair Funding has given us the opportunity to really think about our streets, and I know our residents talk about the conditions of their streets. Really pleased that we'll be doubling the amount of street cleansing from 2 weekly to weekly. That's really, really important, visible on the streets. But that also then gets coupled with a very targeted program of deep cleaning, where we go into an area or a street, take the cars away if they don't move, when we ask them to move, clean gutters, gullies, leaves, all of that sort of thing, and then go on to the next area. That will also increase in regularity, and then really focusing in on our town centres as well with deep nightly cleaning. So we know that in the morning, our town centres are cleaned by Hounslow Highways, our partners at Hounslow Highways. We will do that in the evening as well, between 5 and 10, primarily focused on high footfall to start with, so Hounslow and Chiswick town centres, but Brentford and Feltham can very easily be added if there is a particular need.
Thank you, Councillor Rajwat. Councillor Ahmed, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this has been described as a turning point budget and a budget for the future. Would you, the leader, be able to provide further explanation about the difference this Labour government's fair funding will have on our ability to invest in public services?
Thank you, Councillor Ahmed. Absolutely. It's all about investing in public services. That's what our residents want. That's why they sent us here in the first place in a large number, and hopefully we'll do so again in May. As I mentioned in answer to another question, fair funding really looks at how local government is funded. We know that the last Conservative government really didn't value local government at all and funded it accordingly. This government is looking at factors such as deprivation and actual need and how much it actually costs us to provide services. And that gives us 60 million more over the next 3 years, which gives us the ability to plan. As well as that, alongside that, we received for the first time in a very, very long time, a 3-year settlement, which allows us to plan as well. I should say, there are specific areas, be it in SEND and in adult social care, where there is still more work to be done, but I have more confidence with this government that they will actually grip the issues and help us tackle some of those issues that will then help the funding position as well.
Thank you, Councillor Rajwat. Councillor Todd, please.
Leader, you mentioned a 100 SRA account, the balance of 125 million. HRA, do apologise. Okay. You didn't say where that money is coming from. Can I just remind you, in the 24-25 outturn, the housing revenue account, which had budgeted 3.4 million contribution to balances delivered only 2.1 million due to higher void levels, increased repairs and maintenance cost, and elevated interest charge. Now, I read the budget papers last night, and I think it's going to take up to 2030 for you to get anywhere half that balance of 125 million. Would you try and clarify that, please?
So, Councillor Todd, it's to do with the capacity. Obviously, some of that balance will come from borrowing as well. So we will need to borrow, but I'm just trying to remember the exact numbers. I think there was a contribution of 1.3 from savings into the HRA reserve. This budget puts another 1.7 into the HRA reserves. And over the medium term, that gives us the capacity alongside rent increases, take into account rent convergence as well, the ability to reach that 125. And you would have heard from Councillor Sampson in her announcement some of the work we're doing to maximise rent collection from HRA tenants. And of course, there has been an uplift in rents as well as we are required to do through legislation.
Thank you, Councillor Rajawat. Councillor Lambert, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Shantanu announced this doubling of cleaning at the very first meeting after the last election. None of the officers knew about it. I was the cabinet member. I didn't know anything about it. I went to see him afterwards. So that's a bad idea. It's a waste of money. Most of the streets do not need litter picking every week. There is very little litter, actually, if you look. There is a lot of detritus in the gutters and things like that.
Councillor Lambert, it's a question. Can I get you to ask a question, please?
Okay. So why is this now a good idea, and why was it delayed in implication for 4 years?
So just to be clear, Councillor Lambert, I apologise to you for not telling you in advance. I didn't apologise for the policy. The policy still stands as it has done. The thing that has changed is Liz Truss crashed the economy. She completely ruined any chance to be able to invest in street cleansing. Fair funding has put that opportunity back, and I'm going to take that opportunity. The timing of it is the timing of it. I'm absolutely committed, because that's what residents tell us they want to happen in the borough, across the borough, and that's what will happen.
Thank you, Councillor Rajawat. Councillor Councillor Giles. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I feel like I've had a transformation today. Councillor Rajawat, your own Section 151 report admits there was a 10.5 million overspend this year, with around £5 million described as structural. Yet you're now relying on £27.7 million worth of savings to balance this budget. Why should residents believe this budget is credible when you couldn't keep control of spending in the last financial year?
Thank you very much, Councillor Giles. I mean, to be fair, the 10 million that you quoted is in year, as you say. So I'm not going to doubt where you're going with that. But there are bigger things at play here. We know that demand in adult social care and children's social care is only going one way, and costs are only going one way as well. We need inflation to come down a little bit more in order to help that. But even if you compare what's in the budget papers with the last monitor, that 10 million has come down to 6 million pounds anyway. So we are bearing down on cost at every opportunity. We know that this gap was probably the largest over the next 3-year period. It becomes a lot more easier to look at in-year costs alongside the work that each cabinet member is doing in their individual areas. So quite frankly, we have delivered on our promises. We've delivered the services that residents want. We know where cost and demand is going, and I don't see an alternative from the Conservative group to any of that.
Thank you, Councillor Rajawat. And Councillor Lowell, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I was pleased to see the extension of council tax relief to all care leavers up until the age of 25. This is an important measure to address the many inequalities faced by those leaving care. Would the Leader of the Council be able to tell us how else within this budget supports the most vulnerable and addresses structural inequalities?
Very, very good question. I could go into a lot of detail. So I'm really proud of the extension of the council tax support to carers up to 25. I think that is one less worry for them as they enter adulthood. We've done a lot of work to tackle inequalities where we found it. And the first step in that is really understanding where that deprivation and that inequality exists. It's not woke, it's actually good work, which has identified our 30 most deprived areas. And is really targeting funding and support into those areas. Prime example is in Cranford, where we've invested in Meadowbank, turning that into a community hub and a place where residents can go and get support in a single place. And we're planning on doing more of that across the borough. All of our libraries changing to community hubs as well is an important step. But also understanding that we can't do everything on our own. So partnering with the Citizens Advice Bureau and the voluntary sector, £3 million that we've put into the CAB has led to our residents getting an £11 million benefit back into their pockets. That's real tangible change that will help them. And I'm absolutely committed to carrying on that work.
Thank you, Councillor Rajat. Councillor McGregor, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I refer to fees and charges and increases in fees and charges, particularly for management of events. The increase is 7% across the board for management of events in Hounslow's parks, which you say you love and wish to nurture. The question is this: is that 7% meant to cover the mess that Rachel Reeves has made of the employers' national insurance and the minimum wage?
Simple answer is no. Costs have gone up to manage. Yes, there is a staffing need in there, but also events are getting bigger. I make no apology for that. And so we need to do more to bring the parks back after an event to a standard that residents are still proud of.
Thank you, Councillor Rajat. I see no further hands up. So in that case, we will move on to the amendment. So as it, oh, sorry. Sorry, Councillor Tarek, I didn't see your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Leader, you mentioned in the speech that there would be a 2,050 investment to make leisure activity more affordable for young people. Would you be able to provide further detail on the impact this will have for local families? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarek. Yeah, again, something that I'm very proud of. Fair funding has enabled us to set aside £250,000 to reduce barriers for young people getting into our leisure centres. And I'm really proud of what our leisure centres do and the offer that they have for residents. I will announce further details as they sort of solidify, but broadly speaking, there will be an offer for vulnerable 16-year-olds, some sort of free sessions or every week in our leisure centres, and then something for 18-year-olds and above to be able to access our leisure centres, acknowledging that maybe that will encourage families to also join our leisure centres and go together. The whole aim of this is to have an offer for young people to get them off the streets and give them opportunities and options that they perhaps didn't have before or felt weren't accessible for them. Of course, there is more that we can do and we will do in future years, especially after the election, in terms of youth provision itself.
Thank you, Councillor Rajat. So now I'm going to move to the amendment. So as I said, we come to the proposed amendment, which members will find in the supplementary agenda paper published last Monday. I therefore invite Councillor Peter Thompson to propose the proposed amendment. You have 10 minutes.
Madam Mayor, just can I ask a point of order myself under 12.5? So my reading of that is that I have 10 minutes throughout the debate, which I can split as I wish. And what I'd like to do, I did ask Officer of Arson this morning, is spend 5 minutes on this and 5 minutes on the substantive motion.
My understanding is that you've already had a response to that, but I will just check with the monitoring officer if you don't mind. Sorry, can you clarify for me? You want to do 5 minutes now on the amendment
And then
and
5
5
minutes
minutes?
on the substantive motion. Yeah, on the substantive motion.
Right. After all that, we've decided that the Constitution is not crystal clear, as you say, on it. So let's just, you know, in the benefit of good spirit, let you use your 10 minutes as you wish to use it.
Apologies, everyone. I did raise that point before the meeting. I just wanted clarity. So I think no one should really have to listen to me for 10 minutes. So I thought I'd break it up. But anyway, Madam Mayor, hopefully the clock starts now. This amendment, despite what we're going to hear from the ruling party, is not meant to be theatre. It's not meant to be a fantasy budget alternative. It is fully costed, it's balanced, it's lawful. It just shows a different set of priorities, as you would expect. We accept the need to set a balanced budget. We accept all our statutory duties. We accept that a lot of the stuff in the bigger package of the budget are the sort of things that local authorities have to do. And there are obviously aspects, therefore, that we would support. We accept everything that's suggested about adult social care, children's services, safeguarding. These must be properly funded. But we don't believe that the only way to handle the financial pressures that you so eloquently spoke about, that all residents in the borough are feeling, is to automatically protect bureaucracy and ask residents to pay as much as possible. Identifying nearly £2 million of savings and reinvesting in vulnerable residents is not, as it's been described, scribbling in the margins. You might recognise that quote, it's yours. It is, I think, responsible budgeting. £400,000 towards domestic violence services, £700,000 towards homelessness prevention, £500,000 to improve our treatment of fly tipping. Even after making these reinvestments, this amendment improves the council's overall budget. It's a careful and disciplined shift in priorities. What does it actually do? Well, first, it reduces political and bureaucratic overheads. We propose, yet again, reforming the special responsibility allowances where roles duplicate executive functions. It was nice to hear tonight about what a marvellous job some of these things were doing. It's the first time we've heard it. We propose reducing excessive communication staffing. We propose restructuring community solutions where its work overlaps with the work of existing democratic structures. This is not ideological. It comes down to a very simple question. With the 4.9% increase in council tax, has the council done everything it can internally before it asks residents to pay more? Secondly, we have to move faster to reduce the subsidies where even the administration agrees that change is needed. The Lambton Leisure subsidy is forecast to be 2.8 million. We propose delivering 500,000 of operational efficiencies sooner. This is not anti-Hounslow Leisure, it's about efficiency and long-term sustainability. Third, and most importantly, we are reinvesting in this amendment in prevention. We want to restore the capacity in domestic violence services. Officers have confirmed that the fixed-term funding ends in March, staffing is subject to consultation, and the final structure has yet to be decided. We are putting £400,000 into this service to guarantee its protection. We are strengthening homelessness prevention to reduce long temporary accommodation costs. We are investing in prevented focused fly tipping strategy rather than relying on giving old people and nurses and all the rest of them a £1,000 fine for leaving an envelope next to a bin. Prevention is not compassionate, it's financially responsible. The leader has described our additional 1 million corporate efficiencies as fanciful. That's another quote, so I'll read what you say. If we can't find, that equals 0.3% of this council's overall expenditure. If we can't find 0.3% inefficiencies across corporate overheads, vacancy management, consultancy spending, and management layers, then residents have every right to ask why not. Every household in this borough has had to make difficult choices over the last years. This council should not be the only organisation that does not. So let's be clear about our position. We're going to hear all sorts, I'm sure, in a second, but we're not being reckless here. We're not playing party politics with social care, safeguarding, all those other vital areas that we've heard about and are in this report. But responsibility in opposition means offering a credible alternative, not simply nodding through the status quo. This amendment reduces duplication, trims overheads, strengthens prevention, and directs resources to vulnerable people. It improves the council's financial position while asking the organisation to do more. Residents, again, I'll say this, are being asked to pay more this year. They deserve to know that every layer of overhead has been tested, every efficiency explored, every priority examined before that bill hits the door next month. Tonight, the administration are choosing continuity, same as. We are choosing discipline, prevention, and value for money. And we are ready to be judged tonight on that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Can I just say, Councillor Thompson, that was exactly 5 minutes. Well done.
I timed it well.
Proper time management.
May I now invite Councillor Emsley to second the proposed amendment?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I just want to start by offering a friendly word of caution to Labour colleagues. Every year, I think you're asked to say how terrible the budget amendment from the evil Tories actually is. But curiously, our proposals keep ending up in your budget. Last year, we proposed scrapping their plan to cut funding for streetlights. 7 months later, they did it. 2 years ago, a Labour councillor said it's simply untrue that Hounslow Council pays a subsidy to Lambton, but we've just heard they're going to cut the subsidy to Lambton, so it must exist. In fact, whether it's scrapping their cuts for street lighting, reducing the subsidy to Lambton, cutting the corporate comms budget, reducing corporate salary spend, commercialising Hounslow House, we've proposed it, they've opposed it, and then a few months later, they've adopted it. I think that's what's called effective opposition. And that's exactly what this amendment does yet again this evening. In fact, we'd love the administration to nick some of these policies and make a U-turn on a couple of the decisions they've made in this budget, because we don't believe that cutting the domestic violence team is the right priority. We don't believe they're doing enough on leaf collection and housing service. We don't believe that taxpayers should have to prop up vanity projects like the digital dock. We want them to U-turn on these decisions, and in this amendment, we've shown them how they can do it. One of the most egregious examples of the waste that they could cut in order to fund some of those U-turns is in their PR budget. They spend nearly £1 million just on the salaries of PR officers, And I think that's a very poor use of taxpayer funds. We'd axe that waste and we'd spend it on properly funding domestic violence services instead. But it's not just about PR spend. In November's scrutiny meeting, we heard from residents' voice about the huge duplication of roles between the community engagement team and the community development team. If they sound similar, it's because they do similar things. We could save hundreds of thousands of pounds and make engagement easier for residents by removing this duplication of jobs. And we could reinvest that money into frontline housing services and make a real difference to social housing tenants in our borough. Madam Mayor, this is a serious amendment that axes waste, invests in local priorities, and ensures residents have real value for their money. It's time to put party politics aside, back this amendment, and deliver for our borough. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Emsley. Councillor Rajwat, may I ask you if you're prepared to accept the proposed amendment?
No, Madam Mayor.
So thank you, Councillor Rajwat. We will therefore now debate the proposed amendment. May I remind members that you may only speak once in this part of the debate. Is that Ron? Jared? Okay. Yeah. Oh. Councillor Bowering, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Tories have proposed selling the digital dock. We just heard Councillor Elmsley bizarrely calling it a vanity project. And in the text, they talk about we shouldn't be providing something that the private sector can. But the private sector would never deliver the community resource that the digital dock is growing to become. Situated in a prime location, the digital dock does so much more than provide a co-working space. It's a hub that supports the entire community by hosting business support sessions, charity events, counsellor surgeries, residents groups. It's a venue for the creative mile. It's the location for a fantastic life drawing class, Brentford Nudes. And if you want to understand the dock better, they're always looking for models. It's hosted a film school. Partnership events with Sky and JC&Co. It's used by the police. TfL, we hold consultation events there. It's used regularly by Brentford Voice. It's the nerve centre for the Brentford Canal Centre. It's the rest area for the 50-odd volunteers who make it happen. It's a polling station. So suggest getting rid of all this shows the Tories have no interest in Brentford, no interest in community value. And while this budget invests for the future, they just want to asset strip a vital community resource. It is as preposterous as it is grotesque. Madam Mayor, it's clear when it comes to Brentford, the Tories know the price of everything and the value of nothing.
Thank you, Councillor Bowering. Councillor Mashisho, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As my good friend Councillor Lambert asked earlier, Councillor Rajwat said 4 years ago that you said to the residents that you told us that you wanted to see a cleaner borough, and in a weekly cleanse of all streets, highways to never miss a street, to tackle fly tipping. And he went on to say, we will introduce free annual bulk waste collection for every household. Well, how is that working out? 4 years later, I can tell you tonight that he has spectacularly failed. But even though he believes that Chiswick is a backwater, I nonetheless...
Councillor Mashisho, we're debating currently your amendment. So I'm not sure what... Members, can I ask you to please...
If you allow me to get to the point.
Well,
Madam
could
Mayor?
you get there very
Yes, I
quickly?
will.
Because I haven't heard anything that's vaguely related to it yet.
Do I get my time back, Madam Mayor?
Not the time you've wasted, the time we've had this conversation, yes.
Thank you. So, nonetheless, Councillor Rajwat, I like him very much personally, even though he thinks Chiswick is a backwater. But it's hard to help someone who publicly is rejecting our amendment. He's already done that in the media over the weekend. He rejected the opportunity to invest £500,000 on prevention-led fly tipping strategy. It would have meant that CCTV cameras placed in the fly tipping hotspots that we all know people frequent. Colleagues, there's a difference between a deterrent and simply slapping a £1,000 fine on unsuspecting residents who happen to put their address letter in the wrong bin. The fine should never be a revenue-generating stream. If we are smart about fines, we can shift behavior patterns and we can rescue and we can help. Sorry, we should not use fines to help rescue the council in need of a lifeline. Instead, what we should be doing is helping residents, not demonizing them. Well, and the second point, Madam Mayor, is how about what he said also 4 years ago? He said, we have listened and we have learned from our residents. Well, has he listened and has he learned? Let's have a look at exactly what this means to him. How many times has residents given up their time and energy and planning to come to Hounslow House to sit in front of a planning committee where all their decisions,
Councillor Moshisho, is there anything in the amendment relating to planning? This isn't relevant.
Mayor, yes, of course it is. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Councillor Moshisho,
am I allowed to speak around the issue, or are you going to?
No, you're allowed to speak on the issue of the amendment that your group has put forward. That's what you're speaking on now. There will be time to speak on the budget more generally in that debate.
This is our amendment.
But this debate is on the amendment. So please keep the content of this speech to this amendment. We need to get home at some point today. So I don't want to have round the houses debates.
What our amendment shows is that there is an alternative in Hounslow. We're competent. We're competent with our hands on the till, unlike the opposition, the council, the people who run the council. Earlier in this financial year, we already heard that there was an overspend of £10.5 million in the second quarter and 6.8 in the third. If that happens in the private sector, the person in charge will be removed from their post. We need an administration that is hot on public finance. Take the corporate communication budget, for example. Spending nearly £1 million to staff 14 posts is not right. We have proposed to cut that to around 10 posts, which will save us £400,000 a year, including a baked-in redundancy package payment for those who happen to move
20 seconds,
on.
Councillor Moshisho.
Thank you. If I can just go to the end, because obviously you've cut my time out.
I've actually given you an extra minute, Councillor Moshisho. Now you've got 10 seconds left.
In protest, I will not finish, mate, because I think you've interrupted me enough. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moshisho. Councillor Bruce, please.
The funny thing about Councillor Moshisho's slip there, when he talked about his hand on the till, is it goes directly to what Councillor Bowring said, that it's about the price of everything, because generally you keep your hand on the tiller, don't you, when you're directing something and leading? That's what I'd like to do. But it's about the price of everything and the value of nothing. That's exactly what he's speaking about and exactly why Councillor Bowring is right. The leader has set out clearly what this budget is about, a budget that invests in people. It protects services our residents rely on every day and prepares Hounslow for the opportunities ahead. So tonight, the choice before us is simple: a deliverable plan about how services work, or an amendment built on a till, or actually on percentages on a spreadsheet. So there are a few things here. I'm not going to go over it. All of my colleagues, I'm sure, will cover some of the things that are in this proposed amendment. But let's start with the proposed 50% cut to community solutions. It's a £375,000 reduction. But the structure they're proposing to cut has already been redesigned and is integral to our access model, our community hubs, early help, and resident support. So what does their saving actually do? Well, it doesn't remove bureaucracy. It actually cuts the front door to the council. It cuts the people helping residents who apply for council tax support, preventing homelessness and resolving problems early before they escalate. This administration reorganises services so that residents wouldn't be bounced between departments. That's not efficiency, that's risk. They also propose reducing communications. But communication in local government is about so many things. And most importantly for residents, it's about access to help. It tells residents where community hubs are. how to get cost of living support, how to claim council tax reduction, where vaccination and safeguarding support are available. Prevention only works if people know where it is. You cannot expand community hubs while removing residents' ability to find them. And I've got to talk about the digital doc as well. Councillor Bowring mentioned it, and you stole my line, and I've used it already. But it really encapsulates exactly what the whole amendment is about. It is about knowing the price of everything, but the value of nothing. Our strategy is to grow local jobs and skills, to support people into work, to enable people to work differently, smarter, and a way fit for the 21st century. You don't build an economy by selling the infrastructure that supports local businesses. It is short-term balance sheet optics over long-term prosperity.
20 seconds, Councillor.
So we have a choice: a Labour administration that plans long-term, or a short-term budget sheet Conservative opposition. I urge members to reject this amendment and support the budget.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. Councillor McGregor, please. Certainly, thank you, Councillor McGregor. Councillor Stroud-Turk, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. If you've looked at the amendment, the first thing that comes into your mind, is this it? Is this it? 10 months they've had to come up with it, and they knock something out in 10 minutes. All year, they object to this, they object to that, they call for this, they call for that. Once a year, you guys have an opportunity to lay out your vision for the council. And I'm afraid this does not cut the mustard. This is not a vision. This is not a vision. It's a series of disjointed, ill thought out, petty savings. They're not actually savings, they're cuts. We're making real efficiencies and real savings. What they're offering in this amendment is cuts. They've obviously looked at Kent County Council run by Reform and said, that's a good idea. We'll have a Doge and we'll cut all the services. How did that work out for Kent? Not very well, I'm afraid. What we've got in this budget is a thought out budget which delivers for the residents of this borough.
Councillor Stroud-Turk, can I ask you to keep it to the amendment?
Councillor Emsley said that this budget offers true opposition. I'm afraid it doesn't offer true opposition. It's an insult. This amendment is an insult to the residents of this borough. They expect from these guys once a year something concrete. And what they get, Councillor Thompson, I wouldn't even give it the credit to call it scribbling in the margins. If it was still PC to roll up a packet of cigarettes, I'd hold that up because that's where you obviously wrote it, on the back of that packet of cigarettes. This is not an amendment. It's an insult to the people of this borough. And they really do deserve a better opposition who's prepared to take it seriously. This is the 4th year they have not produced an alternative budget. Rather, they've produced a series of disjointed, pointless savings. And whilst I do not, for 1 second, want to underestimate the impact that street lighting and leaves have on residents, there are a lot bigger fish to fry in this budget. And we will deal with street lighting and we will deal with leaves. But
Councillor Stroud-Turk,
with the big visions.
We need to keep it on the amendment, please.
Well, they did mention street lighting and leaves, Madam Mayor.
And I stopped them
They
from
were
doing
very
so.
keen on that, I seem to remember. Madam Mayor, I think that was directed at you.
Have you finished speaking, Councillor Stroud-Turk? You have
Sheeters.
45 seconds. I'll deal with Councillor Mashisho afterwards.
Thank you very much. Well, we as an administration have vision, we have energy, and we're pushing on. I'm afraid this is an opposition which has run out of ideas and run out of steam. And I think the sooner they go, the better. And I reject this amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Stroud-Turk. Councillor Mashisho, I will say, if there is continual noise from the floor, I will take advice on what to do. Calling my integrity into question from the floor is inappropriate. I heard you, Councillor Mashisho, but let's not do this here. But I'm just warning you, if it continues, then I'm going to take other actions. So next I'm going to go to Councillor Giles, please.
just thank you, Madam Mayor. Let me share a short story that many women and I know have been party to and has been doing the rounds in recent days. Out of 10 men, 1 makes a sexual joke about a woman, 2 laugh, 3 fake a chuckle to fit in, and 4 stay silent. None of them speak up. Later, 9 of them still believe they're the good guys. But from a woman's perspective, their laughter, the silence, the looking away, it all creates the same environment. So when women say most men are the same, this is what they mean. Not that every man harasses women, but that most men help protect a system that does. That is why, as part of our proposed amendment, we want to protect victims and support domestic violence services by reinvesting a petty proposal of £400,000 to help restore core domestic service capacity. Today is the 5th anniversary of the murder of Sarah Everard, and we also recognise that violence towards women can start as minor comments. Last week at the Make Youth Matter event, we heard a passionate address given by a student from the Logic School in Feltham who spoke of how their peers were harassed, heckled, and then ostracised for reporting incidents of sexual harassment and therefore stay silent. This is not acceptable. Yeah. By presenting the original budget, the administration is saying to victims of domestic violence that this council upholds the system that allows young people to learn behaviours and language that could evolve into violence in later life. A system where comments about the bodies of female schoolmates by male students is considered fair game. A system that doesn't look into the root of violence against women and girls, but tells women that they are the problem, that they should dress moderately, that they shouldn't be too exuberant for fear of attracting attention, and that we should learn self-defence. By reinvesting an additional £400,000, this adds to the already designated £200,000 set out in the budget. The current funding for violence against women and girls, as outlined in the plan, is due to expire this month, and there's no specific plan for how this council wishes to support or protect some of the most vulnerable in the borough.
20 seconds, Councillor Giles.
Contrary to what we've heard before. Too often in this chamber, this administration has dismissed comments made by female Conservative councillors by saying we simply don't understand. Please don't condescend to do the same this evening. This is a topic I and many other women I know far too much about. If you vote against our proposal, be sure you really know what you're voting for, not solely what you're voting against. To think otherwise is purely insulting.
Thank you, Councillor Giles. Councillor Dunn, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'm going to address Councillor Giles's speech directly because, as you know, Councillor Giles, I do share your concern and appreciation for the reasons why we need to invest in our domestic abuse services. You are right, the opposition has noted that there was time-limited funding available. This was used by us to support children affected by domestic abuse. And I'm sure everyone can agree just how important that is. We also had time-limited funding to respond to the doubling of cases of domestic abuse that we saw during the pandemic. Now, thankfully, those numbers have come down, not to pre-pandemic levels, but they have come down considerably from that height. So, although you are correct that there was this funding that has ended, money is being put into the service. The domestic abuse team will continue to take all high-risk referrals, yes, with a smaller team, but with specialist IDVA roles and the MARAC and Violence Against Women and Girls coordinators retained. Residents will see an expanded service going beyond the one-stop shop into the community hubs, where staff will be trained by the domestic abuse champion and offered the chance to gain IDFA qualifications themselves. The learning from that work with children and our preventative efforts will be embedded within the children's services, supported by new Families First funding for an early help DA coordinator and a DA practice lead. And staff leaving the service will be given options and training to take their valuable experience in domestic abuse into other important areas across the council where this is needed, such as social work. Like lots of things we do, it's important that expertise doesn't rest simply in one service, but that learning and experience is shared. So preventing and responding to domestic abuse is incredibly important to me and to this Labour administration, and I know to the opposition as well. So
20 seconds,
whilst
Councillor Dunn.
I welcome the fact that you have put in proposals for this, I do believe that we have this covered.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dunn. Can I just commend Councillor Giles and Councillor Dunn for keeping it on time and on point, both speeches. Can I move to Councillor Raza, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the Tories have put the white towel out. I think that's it. They've had enough, to be fair. The budget has been examined in detail by Overeem Scrutiny Committee, where each of the savings proposals were interrogated and examined. This is a budget cut, cost, not service. Same cannot be said for the Tory amendment. It is important to remind people at home that the Tories had the opportunity to present their own budget, something that Councillor Chief Whip said. The few proposals they have actually brought forward do not stand the test of scrutiny, so I'm just talking from that perspective, and I'm glad that leadership has rejected them. Each of the savings being proposed tonight is a commitment to deliver services more efficiently, more effectively, in a way that provides better value for money. They are about finding the best way possible to deliver public service. Building a new children's home, for example, is down to
Councillor Raza, this is the debate on the amendment. I need to make sure you keep it on the amendment, please.
Yep. So, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Raza. Councillor Dennison, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to say I'm reassured by Councillor Dunn's comments with reference to the proposal for reinvestment in and restoring the domestic violence service. And I have to say, the three investment proposals that are in this amendment, I think, are very sound. And frankly, £200,000 going back into domestic violence work is money very, very well spent. I'd like, though, to be a bit more contentious and say I entirely disagree with Councillor Turk. I think this amendment is amazingly ambitious, not least because it's attempting to put lipstick onto a very big pig. So having commended the reinvestment proposals, I would just like to have a quick look at some of the savings proposals, which I think are slightly less in balance than I would like them to be. Number one, of course, I heartily support, but it doesn't go anything like far enough. Allowances in this council have corrupted the motivations and the work of councillors, and it needs to stop. And frankly, any penny spent on special responsibility allowances, I think, is completely wasted as far as most residents are concerned. As far as Commons are concerned, I notice we are banned from using social media in council chamber, but we're not able to ban the leader of the council from popping up on social media whenever an election is in the offing. And so I do therefore support cuts in that service to bring it back into public service rather than political service. I don't agree that reducing community solutions will be a good idea. I think we are far too far behind where we need to be in terms of engaging the community, and the more resources we put into that, the better. And specifically on digital doc, that's a dumb idea to sell it. But it is also a dumb idea for the council to run it. Brentford Voice or a community organisation should be running that resource. It would do far more for our community and will be probably an even better source of funding. In terms of the actions proposed in terms of Lambton Leisure, to be honest, we all know, or most of us know, serious work is required to fix the Lambton Group as a whole. And if we do not do that, our entire budget goes down the pan. And as far as the back office savings proposals were proposed here, again, nothing.
20
like
seconds,
significant
Councillor
enough.
Dennison.
I think both that and the HRA 10 proposal that was in the HRA business plan discussed at Cabinet are too shallow in terms of their impact. I believe this council is now way bigger than it was in 2010 when it was overstaffed, and we need to reduce the
Time
back
up,
office and the
Councillor
top end of it.
Dennison.
And I think we should set as a target for next year that all of us will come
Thank
back
you, Councillor Dennison.
aiming to freeze the council tax and rents because
you,
people
Councillor
are
Dennison.
already paying too much.
Councillor Mosley, please.
I think we've covered this amendment enough, so I'll reserve my right to speak, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Garrywell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to echo what Councillor Dunn said. Support for victims of domestic abuse and their children is evolving, not ending. As funding arrangements and national programs change, it doesn't mean that everything's finished. This is about modernizing and strengthening our response, ensuring victims and families can access the right support at the right time in the right place. So just to echo what you said, sorry, I won't go through all of it, but specialist crisis support for high-risk victims will continue. DA, VOG, sexual violence, and MARAC will continue. The Freedom Programme for women leaving abusive relationships will continue unchanged. And we're very proud of the fact that our domestic violence team is great, and we've done great work. The Domestic Abuse Commissioner has been here. They've commended our work. We've had awards, and we are very, very protective of our residents, and we will carry on doing our good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Garrywell. The last I have is Councillor Shaheen, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and thank you very much to Councillor Thompson for bringing forward this amendment. I do welcome that that you stood up and put forward these proposals. Of course, you've accepted so much that's in our budget that you might as well want to learn the lyrics to the Red Flag. But there are some differences, so I'll come to those in a minute. It's a shame that Vikram Garewal is not here to talk about all the hard work that he did when he was a cabinet assistant. You know, his talent and his insight is a loss to this meeting, and it's a loss to our party. What a waste, man. Now to the amendment and its differences. In this budget, we're investing in the health of Hounslow. We're investing new money into building a new Brantford Fountain Leisure Centre and new paddle courts in Isleworth and Hanworth, and opportunities for our young people. Of course, we want our leisure centres to stand on their own 2 feet, so we've worked closely with Lambton on a plan to sustainably reduce its subsidy over 3 years as it navigates the pressures of inflation and energy prices. But that's not enough for the Tories. They want to slash leisure funding. Have they even spoken to Lambton about their plans? Because let's be clear what this means. Firing staff, cutting services, hiking prices, hurting health. There's a word for that: austerity. Because that's all the Tories ever have to offer: cuts and privatisation. We've heard their plans to sell off Digital Doc. Why? Not because it's losing money, just because. It's what they do: sell off the family silver. We've seen how that strategy works out: creaking railways, sky-high energy prices, and shit in our rivers. Let's treasure our public assets. We're investing in ours. 3 million for our parks, 400k to Middlesex County Cricket Club to build a new home for women's cricket at Swinton Avenue, and many other investments.
Councillor Shaheen, we're talking about the amendment.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm coming back coming back on track. Thank you very much for that. Yes, there have been tough times, and the Conservatives would make them tougher through this amendment. But we have steered this borough through the bleakest of economies. And in this budget, we dare to hope again, because that's what Hounslow deserves.
Thank you. Can I ask Councillor Rajwat to now conclude the discussion by summing up?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Someone said that they've completely lost their way, and this amendment completely signifies how much they have lost their ways. They used to be about low tax. They used to tell us that we needed to freeze the council tax. They've agreed with us. They want to put the council tax up. And yet Councillor Thompson says something else. Their £1.9 million in saving doesn't even cover the amount that would need to be raised through council tax. They are lost. They are without direction. Now, a lot has been said, and I won't go over everything that has been said in this amendment, but I just want to point to a couple of things. And I think what signifies how lost the Conservatives are is that they are telling us that they want to cut community solutions. Too late. We did it 2 years ago. Where have you been? And resident experience, they tell us that that does all the engagement. No, it's customer services. Where have you been? Why are you asleep as an opposition here? On communications, I just wanted to cover that. And I wanted to go back a little bit to 2006, to a report that says, since 2006, the council has focused on developing its response to widely held perceptions amongst members and officers that investment in communication activities was not delivering the required results in terms of council reputation amongst members, employees, residents, key external stakeholders, proactive and positive media coverage of achievements in the local, regional, national and sector media, positioning of Hounslow as an organisation focused on both serving and delivering real value to all borough communities, measuring impact of communication and marketing campaigns, broad recognition of major programmes and projects that have led the way in their sectors of local government. Now, those aren't my words. We're going back to 2006. It's a word of one. Oh, Councillor Peter Thompson in establishing the communications team. You want to cut it. It's absolutely astonishing where you come from. Look, I'm going to end, Madam Mayor, on something actually really important, because they've lost their way on the amendment and it doesn't warrant support. But actually, we've had a really important discussion on domestic abuse and domestic violence. And I think that is an important discussion that we've had today. And it's really important. And actually, the exchange from Councillor Giles and Councillor Dunn is really important. And we must not forget that. They want to talk about structures. We want to talk very much about outcomes. And so I want to end talking about this amendment. And the reason we won't is because we are putting the investment in. And any person across this borough who feels that they are subject to domestic abuse or is a survivor of domestic abuse, rest assured, across the council, but in particular as the administration, we see you, we want to support you, and we are here for you. And nothing will ever change that.
Thank you, Councillor Rajwat. So we now go to the vote on the proposed amendment.
Earlier, could we please have the time that Councillor Rajwat spent on summing up, please?
Yes, he had 2 minutes 50 seconds. He finished 10 minutes. I've got my little. I can promise you, I've got my eye on it, Gerald. So, yes, now to move to the vote on the proposed amendment and remind members that this is a recorded vote. So I'll hand over to Mandy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I will read members' names in alphabetical order. Please indicate if you are for or against the amendment or wish to abstain. Councillor Aksa Ahmed.
Against.
Councillor Mohammed Shakil Akram.
Against.
Councillor Madir Asim.
Against.
Councillor Harleen Atwell here. Not here. Councillor Lillybath. Councillor Rashid Bhatti.
Against.
Councillor Joanna Biddulph.
For.
Councillor Dan Bowring.
Against.
Councillor Tom Bruce.
Against.
Councillor Ghazala Butt.
Against.
Councillor Samia Chowdhury.
Against.
Councillor Ansar Chowdhury.
Against.
Councillor Amy Croft.
Against.
Councillor Theo Dennison. Councillor Hera Dillon.
Against.
Councillor Catherine Dunn. Councillor Jack Emsley.
For.
Councillor Adesh Farmerham.
Against.
Councillor Gabriella Giles.
For.
Councillor Ranjit Gill.
Against.
Councillor Ajmer Gerwal.
Against.
Councillor Pritam Gerwal.
Against.
Councillor Shivraj Gerwal.
Against.
Councillor Bishnu Gorong.
Against.
Councillor Farah Kamram. Councillor Gurmal Lal. Councillor Guy Lambert.
Abstain.
Councillor Karamat Malik.
For.
Councillor Amrit Mann. Absent. Councillor Gerald McGregor. Councillor Hina Mir. Councillor Alan Mitchell.
Against.
Councillor Max Mosley.
Against.
Councillor Ron Mashisu.
For.
Councillor Samia Nagra.
Against.
Councillor Shantanu Rajawat. Councillor Sayaraza.
Against.
Councillor Farhan Rahman.
Against.
Councillor Danish Saeed. Councillor Sue Sampson.
Against.
Councillor Salman Shaheen. Councillor Marina Sharma.
Against.
Councillor Emma Sidhu.
Against.
Councillor Ragwinder Sidhu. Councillor Karen Smith.
Against.
Councillor John Stroud Turp. Councillor Kuldeep Tak.
Against.
Councillor Aisha Tariq. Councillor Peter Thompson. Councillor John Todd.
For.
And Councillor Mohammed Amir. So the amendment is lost.
Thank you. Now we move on to the next substantive item, the debate on the substantive report. And just for clarity, the substantive report as not amended. Please may I remind members that you may only speak once in this part of the debate. Can I ask Councillor Rajawat to, oh no, sorry, I'm not asking Councillor Rajawat to do anything. Can I ask anyone who would like to speak? Hands everywhere. I'm gonna start with Councillor Lambert because I think he had to say yes. Sorry, Councillor Lambert. I think I may have missed you last time. Can people keep their hands in the air while I write down names? And Councillor Lambert, you may start. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, as you said, this should have been about the amendment, but it will work on the main one as well.
Okay,
I think
that's fine.
So some of what we've heard earlier is that standard Conservative efforts to copy reform. So we won't go into that. But some of the suggestions they made, I agree with, or at least think should be properly considered. Cabinet assistants, I remember when they were invented to shore up Steve Curran's support and to make sure he didn't get kicked out like Julian Bell did across the border in Ealing. I had two cabinet assistants when I was on the cabinet. None of them did anything really. I tried to encourage them to do things, but they didn't really want to. I had another assistant who wasn't mine. It was actually Councillor Shivraj Growell's assistant. She worked hard to help me, but before we could come to a conclusion, she was sacked without notice, so it didn't proceed. The other thing I want to talk about is communication and community solutions combined. We've got an awful lot of
communication people sending out what seems to me to be press releases, which don't tell anybody anything very much. That they are propaganda. They are not informative. So in Brentford, we've got something which is called a community hub. How many people have been to it? I've been to it in Brentford. Have you, Gerald? Yes, 5 years ago. Okay. Yeah, I go to the community hub, not every week, but often. Usually I'm the only person there, apart from a couple of officers
20
and a couple
seconds,
of people
Councillor Lambert.
you know, I don't know, I never know who's going to be there because there is no communication about that at all. And if you look on the website, it said there will be people there doing stuff. This is awful. The communication is very lacking. If we're going to have a community club, great, but having 4 people sitting there doing, half a dozen people sitting there without anybody to talk to, this is not a community club that works. And
Thank you, Councillor
if we're going
Lambert.
to carry on with it, we need the communication reconvened to make it a useful hub for the
Thank you,
community.
Councillor Lambert.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Smith, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since I've been a councillor, one of the things I've been proudest about is our commitment to the environment. When it comes to making Hounslow greener, this administration puts its money where its mouth is. Already this year, we've seen the first round of our green investment opportunity raise over £1 million for sustainability projects within the borough. In this budget, we have an exciting new project to build a district heating network, which Councillor Dunn mentioned earlier, with over 10 million of funding from central government. This will use heat from wastewater to heat schools, hospitals, leisure centres and libraries. It also has the potential to heat up to 3,000 homes. And this is a huge step towards cutting carbon emissions and customer costs. This is what real climate action looks like. Reform and the Conservatives want to repeal the Climate Change Act. Here in Hounslow, we take the climate emergency seriously. Still, creating a greener borough doesn't just mean fighting climate change. It also means increasing residents' access to green spaces. And this is why I welcome the budget's investment in improving green spaces like Hanworth Park as part of the Hanworth Park Master Plan. The budget also supports plans to open up new green spaces as part of regeneration projects in Feltham and Brentford. In Feltham, this includes plans to clean up the riverbanks of the Longford River, creating a new green corridor into the heart of the town. In Brentford, the Golden Mile regeneration also includes plans to regenerate the River Brent corridor as a vital place for nature and well-being. This will connect Brentford to the new West London Regional Park, which Councillor Shaheen mentioned earlier, which will link green spaces across 3 boroughs. Finally, this budget will also support plans for greener travel. The most exciting of these is the new rail link, the West London Orbital. This has the potential to cut 650,000 car journeys every year. But also, within the borough, this budget supports greener ways of getting around, not least with the completion of our £2 million pavement pledge, improving pavements across the borough, fighting climate change, creating new green spaces, supporting greener transport. This Labour budget will help us deliver all 3, and that's why everyone should support it this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Bidoff, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to take just a few minutes thinking about looking at the fees and charges increases, and particularly the cost of death. I'm shocked that the burial of cremated remains on a Saturday evening is going up by 42.8% from £250 to £357. Cremated remains on a Sunday bank holiday, 42.6%. Coffin burial on a Sunday or a bank holiday, 66% up, 66.7% up, from £624 to £1,040. Coffin burial Monday to Saturday, 42% up, 499 to 712. Late service burials up 42.7, and a permit to install a memorial up to 65.1% up, from 318 to 525. Exploiting death at a time that families are extremely vulnerable and emotionally drained is exploitation. These are all fees that have been around for some time. How was it that they were so wrong before and that they have to be increased by so much at one time?
Thank you, Councillor Biddulph. Councillor Sharma, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We often hear that half our spending goes on statutory services such as adult social care. That number comes up a lot, especially when we discuss services or financial pressures faced by local government. However, tonight I want to look beyond the figures. I want to talk about what this budget means for thousands of our residents who rely on our support and how this budget will touch everyday lives. Because behind that figure are people who trust us to make the decisions that protect their dignity, their independence, and their right to stay rooted in the communities that they love. Firstly, this budget will deliver 50 new extra care properties for adults aged over 55, enabling them to remain living in the borough and live independently with support nearby while staying close to family, friends, and neighbourhoods that they know. When it comes to ensuring comfort, independence, and dignity, however, we know no better substitute for being supported to live at home. This is also a budget that looks ahead. It doesn't simply maintain services, it reimagines how we support people. That is why I welcome the proposal in this budget to invest in our Shared Lives programme. Shared Lives offers adults who need support the chance to live in a family environment surrounded by warmth, stability, and personalised care. It provides a genuine alternative to supported living or residential care, a home, not a placement. It also creates opportunities for carers who have the potential to earn between £300 to £500 a week, plus contributions towards rent and bills, depending on the needs of the individual who needs the support. The impact of this budget is clear. They are not abstract ambitions. They are real changes that improve people's lives, supporting them to be more independent and lead fuller lives. Investing in social care is not a burden. It is a safety net and a springboard. Just as a safety net protects us when we fall and a springboard gives us the push to rise again, social care provides both protection in times of need and the support people need to regain their independence. This is what a strong Labour administration does. We invest in people, we protect the most vulnerable, we make the choices rooted in fairness, dignity, and community. Madam Mayor, this budget invests in people, independence, and the compassionate modern social care system that reflects our values. It prepares us for a future rather than reacting to it, and ensures we meet our statutory duties in a way that reflects the care and dignity our residents deserve. With this budget, we are committing to the lives of thousands of vulnerable residents, strengthening our support for every resident. And ultimately, this is about who we choose to be as a borough. It's choosing care over convenience, dignity over short-term fixes, and community over isolation. It's about standing with people who need us most, not just in principle, but in practice through the decisions we make here tonight. That's why I urge you all to join me in voting in favour of this budget, because the choices we make now will shape the lives of thousands of residents who depend on us, and they deserve nothing less than our full care and commitment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sharma. Councillor Thompson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and hopefully I'm back for my 5 minutes, so I'll try and be prompt. Right. So this budget is described as a turning point, but the numbers do tell a very different story. Even after receiving 21.3 million boost through fair funding, that wonderful scheme that's robbing Peter to pay Paul all across the country, the administration is still asking residents to pay the full 4.99% council tax increase. So my question is very simple. I referred to it earlier, I suppose. If this is a turning point, why are we still paying the maximum? So let's have a look at the bigger picture. The third quarter monitoring report forecasts a 6.8 million overspend, including a 5 million structural deficit in the base budget. That's not opposition rhetoric, that's in the council's own report. Last year's budget warned of a widening structural gap. This year's budget confirms it. This budget papers over, as I said, a £5 million structural gap that has developed on your watch. It's not about austerity, it's about financial discipline. Members will know that Section 114 position is where a council's chief financial officer must call a halt to non-essential spending because the council can't balance the book. The recent corporate peer challenge conducted before the uplift that came with fair funding recorded that some officers were fearful we were moving in that direction. Thank goodness for the extra money. But a one-off funding boost doesn't remove that structural weakness. Look at waste, refuge, bins. It's in the report. One of the most visible services that we rely on. I put my bins out before I came here tonight. The waste service forecasts a 2.5 million overspend, including £2 million of recurring pressure. Yet there's only a £500,000 contingency for next year. Residents are paying nearly 5% more, and yet the waste aspect of this council is unstable. Where is the operational grip? At the same time, we are asked to be paying the maximum increase. There is that corporate contingency of £27.1 million, that pot that is there for the rainy day. You can't claim really confidence in what you're doing if you're relying on a buffer of that size. And I'll give you another concern I have about the budget, which is the so-called savings. Councillor Emsley referred to this earlier. It's the 5 million extra through increased camera enforcement. I've struggled to understand how that is a saving. It's not a saving. It's a revenue assumption based on residents driving badly. It's one thing to use cameras to change behaviour. It's quite another thing to include them as part of your midterm financial strategy. Turn to adult social care. Yes, that 2% precept raises around about 3 million. But as we all know, demand is far higher than that. Residents are paying more, but that precept only covers a fraction of what is needed. Where is the real reform? Where is a serious plan to control rising placement costs and long-term spending? I'm not talking about cutting anything to do with social care. I'm talking about fixing the causes of the rising costs before we ask residents to cough up and cover the gap. So let's just go back to the central claim, the claim that the corner has turned. After all the wicked years of Conservative government, it's all rosy ahead. But the numbers show a different thing. Under your watch, we have yet again the maximum increase in council tax. We have a structural deficit. We have a large contingency pot for the rainy day. We have waste overspends. We have a revenue, entire budget partly, that depends on fining our citizens. A budget that, thankfully, I suppose, for all of us, has been funded and helped out by an unexpected windfall rather than anything really that you lot have done. It's no turning point. It's a holding pattern funded by a windfall and the highest allowable tax rise. We're not reckless. We're not playing around, like I said before, with social care and safeguarding. We are doing as a council many things the council continued to do really well between 2006 and 2010, when I had that corporate communication team of 4 as opposed to 14. But we can't support the package as a whole. Why on earth do you think we would? We're not supporting 5 million more in enforcement. It relies on maximum tax, enforcement revenue, not discipline. And therefore, this side, we are not seeing any changes in priorities. We are offering you a different way forward. Residents deserve discipline about how their money is managed, and they deserve to have a council that looks as closely as its own money as we seem sometimes to look at their wallets. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Mitchell, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to speak in support of this budget for putting Feltham, a town where I'm very proud to live, front and centre. Now, right-wing parties, certainly judging by the literature coming through letterboxes in Feltham and the Feltham area, seem to spend all their time talking Feltham down. I'd like to remind them that the reason we were elected was to make real and positive change. We have, and there is more to come. That is what this Labour budget is about. Feltham is a town surrounded by green spaces. It's just half an hour to central London on the train. It's located next to Europe's busiest airport. Its potential as a centre for logistics, media, innovation and skills is limitless. That's why this Hounslow Labour administration has set out one of the boldest growth and regeneration projects in the UK to help Feltham realise that potential. These plans will help deliver new family homes, access to thousands of quality jobs, and not just service jobs, but high quality jobs, new travel links, and better access to green spaces. As was mentioned by the leader earlier, that includes building a new green neighbourhood on the site of the old MOD site, which is the jewel in the crown of the Feltham, Bedfont and Hanworth area's future, with good homes for local people and, as my colleague Councillor Gurung has long pushed for, also retired veterans. The administration is already investing in Feltham's cultural heritage with projects like the Feltham Green Eco Cabin and the Freddie Mercury Memorial Garden, all marking great achievements in our town. This budget includes major capital investments in Feltham, 1.6 million invested in the Hanworth Park Master Plan, as mentioned by Councillor Smith, and 1.7 million on the Hounslow Road footbridge. But most importantly, the plans we are bringing forward will invest in Feltham's young people. Now, myself and Councillor Asim as ward councillors are very proud 2 weeks ago to be at the opening of the new purpose-built space, supported, rent and lease free, so that our skilled partners can be enabled to deliver the interventions that the young people in the Feltham, Bedfont and the Hanworth area need. And we're delighted to have had that, and we're grateful for that. But there's more to come. Working with partner organisations to create an education and skills hub in our town will be marvellous. It will be transformatory.
20 seconds,
Strengthening
Councillor
routes
Mitchell.
from learning into work will help residents access local jobs, whether at the airport or in key growth areas like food, innovation, logistics, films and TV. We're proud of our town. We're ambitious for our town. As part of the Hounslow family, only Labour has a plan for Feltham's future, and it's a really positive one. Let's get behind this budget and support it tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Councillor Dennison, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I started my prep for today's meeting by having a look at the 2025-26 budget. You might remember, John, this is the time when Labour declared Hounslow an audit-free zone. In the 2025-26 budget, the warnings were dire and stark, and the entire budget was propped up by corporate contingencies. Nothing, I have never seen anything like it. I am so relieved that the fair funding solution for Hounslow this year has been the best ever, because by God, we needed it. And yet, despite it being the best ever, it still doesn't do the business. And the reason it doesn't do the business is this is not a balanced budget. A balanced budget is defined as a budget where the expenditure is balanced by the recurring sources of income. And this one simply doesn't do it. And Peter, I'm afraid you're absolutely wrong about the size of the structural deficit. It is nothing like as puny as £5 million. It is absolutely ginormous. And the fair funding formula has not even made a dent at it. If you look in this report, it is clear that we are capitalising revenue expenditure. We are abusing ring-fenced government grants. We are leaning on massive increases in fines on our residents. And we are again propped up by £27.1 million worth of corporate contingencies. This makes Liz Truss look like a Bank of England economist. It is utterly ridiculous to call this a balanced budget. And the consequences of this are plain if you look at the Treasury Management Report, Appendix G. where it clearly identifies the biggest ever drop in our reserves by £44 million ever. Max, it makes any raid the Conservatives might have made on the reserves look puny. This is catastrophic in terms of a loss. It is totally unsustainable. This budget guarantees not only that in 27-28, again, as the Treasury Management Report identifies, we will have debt bigger than £1 billion, but also, and this again, Peter, is where you're wrong, it is a turning point. This budget guarantees forever under this
20 seconds,
administration
Councillor
that there
Dennison.
will be maximum increases in the council tax every single year, maximum increases in rents every single year, and hardships thrown on some of the poorest people in our borough. You should be bloody well ashamed of what you are doing.
Thank you, Councillor Dennison. Councillor Mosley, please.
Thank you. I was going to talk about something different, but let's address something that's come up a few times now, which is fair funding. There's been this insinuation that we've been bailed out by central government. It's not true at all. I think what it really is a recognition of the money that this council should have had over the period under the, I'll use Councillor Thompson's terms, wicked Conservative government. So in a way, it is a good thing that we have had an increase in our fair funding. It is a good thing that the wicked Conservative government's actions have been undone. What Councillor Dennison is wrong about is where this council is going and what is driving the good financial position. Because what it is good financial management from this Labour council that is not appreciated by the opposition. Because budgets are more than just numbers. They are statements of values, they are statements of priorities and long-term strategy. So it's worth in this moment to reflect on what that long-term strategy of this council has been that has led to a situation where we do not have a cuts budget and we have a pro-investment budget from this Labour administration. Number one, we have protected these residents through disciplined stewardship. Many councils borrowed heavily to protect their capital expenditure under the Conservative government. It was a strategy to try and offset the pain and hardship caused by the wicked Conservative government. Hounslow was able to take a different path because we were able to finance somewhat internally because of our good financial position. So while many faced a higher cost of debt, our position in the reports that Councillor Dennison has mentioned already has been described as prudent and under borrowed. You don't hear that from the side opposite because they want to focus only on the negatives. Now, why is that? Why is it that our position is prudent and considered under borrowed? Because nobody loses out more when a council goes bust than our residents. Managing risk carefully, we have shielded our residents from the financial shocks. Why? Because it is a Labour value. Second, housing. Across London, councils have faced a 40% increase in the demand for temporary accommodation, yet funding has remained frozen. It's a huge issue that is causing huge amount of financial difficulties across this city. The result is deficits that many London councils are describing as the single biggest factor pushing them to bankruptcy, but not in Hounslow. We instead have the lowest proportions of households in temporary accommodation in
20 seconds, Councillor Mosley.
How do we achieve that? By building homes. And do you know what that is? That is a Labour value. This budget is a Labour budget. It is built on Labour budgets before it came. And what it is a statement of the future, and our ability to invest in our residents is built on Labour values. That is steeped throughout this budget. It is steeped throughout the budgets that came before it. And I look forward to the next one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mosley. Councillor Emsley, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I have an apology to make, first of all. In the last Borough Council meeting, I uncharitably referred to Labour councillors as ostriches who were burying their heads in the sand about the scale of the problem with Lambton. And I now realise that this comparison was very unkind to flightless birds, because they're not just burying their heads in the sand, they're actively giving speeches that bear almost no resemblance to what's actually being proposed. Let's take a step back for a second. Since the last election, council tax is up by 23%. This much fated 3-year plan means it will go up by another 15% in 2028. To plug their financial gap, they're fining residents millions upon millions of extra pounds. And all of this is on top of their government hiking taxes on working people to the highest ever level. And what do we get in return? Well, Councillor Mosley just said this isn't a cuts budget. I think you should have a look at Appendix C, £20 million in cuts this year, added to £12 million in cuts last year. And they say that's good news, nothing to worry about, heads in the sand, let's all cheer. To be fair to Labour councillors, I don't think all of them are being deliberately misleading. I think that many of them genuinely haven't read what's actually being proposed. And we've had some clues about that over the past few months and years. Last year, we were told they weren't proposing cuts to street lighting. Then a few months later, we forced them into a U-turn. They claimed there was no lantern subsidy. This year, they're claiming there is one, but they're cutting it. At scrutiny meeting in January, they said there were going to be cuts to frontline housing services. 5 minutes later, they said there weren't going to be any. Madam Mayor, this isn't serious politics. It's rhetoric that hides an administration seriously out of its depth. Residents deserve much, much better. They deserve a council that understands how to deliver good value for money. And in May, they'll get the chance to vote out this circus and vote for councillors who will fix Hounslow. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Emsley. Councillor Lau, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this evening, I'm going to be speaking on the 26-27 annual budget, but I want to focus my attention and remarks this evening on housing and the housing revenue account. Now, housing sits at the centre of the council's responsibilities. The scale of that responsibility is quite significant. And putting it into context, the council manages around 13,500 homes across the borough, including 900 sheltered homes for older residents. We are also the freeholder for more than 3,000 leasehold properties. Together, that represents around 1 in 7 homes in Hounslow, housing almost 1 in 4 residents. This budget continues sustained investment in our housing estates. It includes £32 million this year for housing estate improvements, with around 150 million planned by 2030. Alongside this, the council has invested around 1 million in bringing long-term vacant HRA homes back into use. That program has already returned around 130 homes, housing 130 additional households and generating 1 million in rental income for the HRA. This is preventative work, investing early so problems do not grow larger later. But the most effective long-term investment we can make is to build new homes. That is why I welcome the £125 million investment to deliver new social homes for local residents. Working alongside Lambton 360 and the Lambton Group, the council continues to expand housing capacity. The Lambton Group now holds 628 properties secured against council lending as part of the borough's housing investment model. The housing revenue account is also being strengthened. The budget includes around 2.9 million of efficiency savings, alongside measures to reduce voids, review service charges, and improve operational efficiency. Together, these measures create a borrowing capacity to support up to 166 billion of future housing investment. Madam Mayor, like councils across London, we are on the front line of the housing crisis. But through sustained investment, long-term planning, and preventative work, we are making real progress. This budget plans responsibly for the future through prudent reserves,
20 seconds, Councillor Lau.
through contingency planning, and through disciplined financial management. This is long-term stewardship. Investing in housing, investing in stability, and investing in the future of our borough. For those reasons, I support the budget.
Thank you, Councillor Lau. Councillor McGregor, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One of the things that Councillor Stroud said was it was an insult to the borough. Well, of course, insults to the borough come in all sorts of insults in the borough come in all sorts of sizes. By public command. Thank you, everybody. It's a very kind welcome. Insults come in all sorts of sizes, all sorts of issues. Now, there's a bigger insult, which goes alongside this. This is our 5th meeting this year. So how many times have we actually met our public? 5 times. We used to have 11 meetings a year. Yes, you want the dates? The 27th of May, the 22nd of July, the 16th of September, the 25th of November, and today, the 3rd of March. That's it. So when we're talking about insults, perhaps you ought to be considering the question of democracy and the democratic deficit that this budget is creating. The deficit it's creating is because there's no integrity in it. Councillor Dennison is quite right to point out his concerns. He and I share those concerns very broadly. The question, of course, about the housing, I was listening very carefully to what we heard just a moment ago. Thank you very much for your presentation on housing. But the point, of course, is that we've got housing that's actually secured against revenue. That means that if it goes wrong, the taxpayer coughs up. That's not clever. And in fact, if things go wrong in Lambton, the taxpayer will cough up. My colleagues and I have been spending quite a long time criticizing and pointing out what this means to our rate and taxpayers. Another issue about integrity is the question of the fees and charges. We've got Councillor Biddulph mentioning this question about what's going on with interments and so forth, and 47% rise. There's another one there, which is, there's a charge for memorialization and for looking after memorials. Except it's not being actually a service supplied, and therefore there's been no rise, but we still have that item as a budget item, but there's been nothing done to actually create a result. There's no revenue. And the other thing about it is if you look at Appendix C, you'll see how are these things charged. And you'll see something called full cost. Our management accounting team is unable to guarantee a full cost response because, quite simply in accounting terms, it's not possible to full cost an individual activity in this borough. It is not possible because full cost means allocating a budget of overhead, and you can't do that in accounting terms with any accuracy whatsoever. So when people talk about full cost in Appendix C, ask the question, how did you actually work that out? How did you actually work out the cost of interment delayed for a week? How did you work that out? And the answer is, there's no integrity in this budget because you're using a false set of parameters. And this is what I've been talking about for the last 22 years in the council. Madam Mayor, this budget's a stinker.
Thank you, Councillor McGregor. Councillor Sampson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And fix Hounslow. Councillor Emsley, fix Hounslow. The last I knew, which was just today, we are, for temporary accommodation spend and temporary accommodation allocation, we are the best in London. The best. Okay, so your amendment to our homeless budget does not even warrant justification. We are the best. You are simply scratching to find problems that just don't exist. Okay, I think your amendment on the budget, yes, right. Your amendment, I think, is better suited and an excellent proposal for Hillingdon.
Sorry, thank you, Councillor Sampson. Councillor Mashisho.
As Mario Baratelli once said, why always me? Watch the football if you're not interested in that reference. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I saw a video last night featuring Councillor Rajawat titled "A Budget for the Future," and it came across like an election campaign video, as though residents have forgotten for the last 16 years that it is his party that has been running the council to the ground overall. But then he promises in this video that he wants more and better jobs. But does he even understand what he is promising? Serving the council and creating wealth and opportunities are two very different things. Labour behaves as though business is the enemy. They are supporting an unemployment rights bill that will stop businesses from hiring young people across this borough. Also that they can turn to the council,
Councillor Mashisho, this is not me picking on you. That is not an item related to the budget, which is what you're supposed to be discussing. So please, I will give you the time back, but you need to keep it on the budget, please.
Okay. So they turn to when young people turn to the council with increasingly making people more reliant, more dependent on the council to provide. They want to control our lives, and we must reject this notion completely. Under Councillor Rajawat's leadership, we are becoming a state-run economy where everyone works for the local government. I can't remember the last time the state produced genuine innovation, creativity, or wealth creation, because we know that wealth creation comes from the private sector. Public sector spending, the public sector is in the business of spending other people's money. And where do you think the money for the 21 million rescue package has come from? It has come from the private sector. So Councillor Rajawat talks about the jobs, yet under his government, unemployment is rising and graduates are
Councillor
left.
Mashisho, this is on the budget here. That is what you're being asked to speak on.
Madam Mayor, can I make a point of order?
Certainly.
We've had during the course of tonight reference of Liz Truss and no comment from yourself. We've had reference to previous Conservative governments, nothing to do with this budget, no comment from yourself. I'm struggling to understand why when the councillor behind me, Councillor Mashisho, makes reference to national politics that's affecting, as he said, people in Hounslow, that this budget doesn't address, and his general point is that this budget is not pro-business. I'm struggling to understand, with greatest respect, why you're interrupting him and all the comments from that side about all the wicked Conservatives, blah, 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 get no response.
So the reason, can I answer, please? The reason why I am doing that, Councillor Thompson, is very clear. I am trying to run this meeting with the utmost integrity, and the fact that I keep getting catcalled from that side of the room is inappropriate. But my point is, I have let most people go with the odd comment. That is fine. But Councillor Mashisho has made the majority of his speeches about things that are not relevant to the conversation. It's fine to make the individual comments, and I've let everybody off with that across the room. But it's when the bulk of the speech is not about that, and then I get additional catcalls from the floor. It's not appropriate. I'm happy to give Councillor Mashisho the time to do his speech again, but it has to be on the budget. Simple as that. Councillor Mashisho, I'm happy to give you time and then come back to you if you want to come back, or you can have your time back now. Either way, I'm happy to allow that, but it has to be on topic.
Okay. Thank you. The council wants to control our lives, and we must reject this. Under his leadership, we are becoming a state-run economy where everyone works for the local government. I can't remember the last time the state produced genuine innovation. Innovation and creativity and wealth creation comes from the private sector. And where do we think the money for the £21 million rescue package from the government comes from? It comes from our local economy. Councillor Rajawat talks about jobs, yet under his government, unemployment is rising and graduates are left scrambling to find work. Local businesses on our high streets can't afford to employ anyone anymore. The pressures of rising costs and business rates are taking hold. Hounslow is no longer a borough for businesses. It is a public-funded, money-losing municipality. We have become a borough of civil servants hemorrhaging employed, sorry, I will say again, we have become a borough of civil servants employed to manage the decline. Where are the incentives for local businesses and wealth creators to bring jobs back to Hounslow? We have a council holding a monopoly on jobs while businesses up and down our high street struggle to recruit. So we're told Hounslow Council is the biggest growth opportunity in this video that we saw last night. But try telling that to businesses that are struggling in our borough. The so-called budget for the future is nothing more than a budget designed to shore up Councillor Rajawat's own future as leader of the council. So that's why I would not be supporting this budget, and we need to fix Hounslow. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mashisho.
Madam Mayor, do you have to stick your tongue out after I finish talking?
Sorry? Councillor Mashisho, I'm going to make an official complaint about your continued behaviour to the monitoring officer because it's inappropriate. And if this continues, then I'm going to ask that you don't speak for the rest of the meeting because I'm about at my limit at your behaviour. Thank you. Councillor Bowring, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First off, I'd like to reassure Councillor Mashisho that we are not trying to control your life, and you are free to continue spending your night times watching videos of Councillor Rajawat. Madam Mayor, the big winners from this budget are the residents of Hounslow. We heard about the impact in Feltham, and the residents of Brentford are no exception. The Tories want to asset strip vital community resources. They want to drastically cut frontline officers who work with local charities and support residents. They want to drag us back to the era of austerity, creating long-term systemic decline for Brentford and Hounslow. We take the opposite view. You asked about jobs and businesses. We are pouring investment into Brentford, the echo of which will be felt for decades. We're investing in the Golden Mile, home to some of our most prestigious businesses, the University of West London, the epicentre of nearly half of London's media production jobs. And you want to know more about jobs, Councillor Mashisho? Soon a world-class film studio with 6 large sound stages. That alone will create 3,000 jobs. This budget also supports the delivery of the new West London Orbital, a rail link connecting Brentford to North London, HS2 and the Tube network. It enables new social housing like Charlton House, Albany Parade, with 125 million for new council homes, 150 million to improve existing estates. But there's more. Just in Brentford, a new cricket facility, a state-of-the-art leisure centre, a flexible modern arts centre, a greener Brentford because we're putting 3 million quid into our parks, a growing and exciting waterside public realm. It all adds up to a more connected Brentford, a greener and flourishing Brentford, a better supported Brentford, good jobs for Brentford, good homes for local people, a Brentford that is not just a consumer of culture, but a producer of it, a genuine resource community that people are proud to live in and eager to work in. I'll be voting in support of this budget. I would be mad not to.
Thank you, Councillor Bowring. Councillor Todd, please.
A lot of criticism about our response, and I rebut most of that. But I just want to make a few points in the finance field. I, like many others, try and do some research. And what I'll say now quite clearly, we are utterly devoid of meaningful data that we can form an opinion as to the credibility of your financial data. Frequently, there's mention of voids, rent reviews, repairs, staff numbers. I've never seen any net staff number for this council. I went on the website to look at the corporate structure, and that's now a year out of date. I'm not quite sure whether it's in date or out date. I've made, during the course of my inquiries into Lambton, which is still a major concern, I've asked for 2 documents from officers, and on both occasions they were refused, saying they were commercial in confidence. I sought advice above their level, and the documents were given to me. I don't think that's a correct response. Subsequently, I asked them to define what commercial in confidence was, and they couldn't. And I think it's a game between a hare and a mouse. I'm not quite sure, but I find that very frustrating. Put yourself in our shoes. But you may not have seen in the Treasury report, but you're now going to give powers to the Section 151 officer to allow Lambton, that's the property company we've heard about with their loans over 250 million, to not pay interest on their loan balance, rather than pay it immediately, convert it into capital. I find that utterly bizarre. In my dialogue with officers, I mentioned my concern about there are things called subsidy control rules. And these subsidy control rules ensure that Lambton, which has distinct advantages in dealing with the council and would not perform in such a way as to breach the subsidy control rules. Now, in a report in July 24, external accountants suggested that the council take note of those rules and get legal advice. I raised it recently and found that the advice has been taken, and no, I can't see the request to council. Now, if that's not being more bloody minded, I don't know. I was refused to see the advice they'd taken. And I'll finally share with my concerns. Is it right that Lambton, who are supposed to bid with other people
20
for
seconds,
work,
Councillor Todd.
Sorry?
20 seconds,
Okay,
Councillor
well,
Todd.
they've been given a letter of comfort. They're allowed to invoice ahead, 2 months ahead of the required work, and put their interest into capital. In my view, that is a breach of these subsidy rules, and I do hope we can get a response as soon as possible.
Thank you, Councillor Todd. Councillor Tack, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Now, tonight we've heard about some of the opportunities that this budget will create. For the first time in over a decade, we can go beyond cautious optimism and start talking about real, exciting change. So how did we get there? There are 2 reasons. Sound financial management by this administration and the election of a Labour government. We have greater cause for optimism because this administration has successfully navigated the most challenging financial periods our borough has ever seen. A very long period of austerity, massive inflation, global instability, and even Liz Truss. We have weathered the storm where neighboring Tory boroughs have not. And we have come through it all while continuing to deliver the best possible public services for all our residents. Most importantly, in 2024, we helped elect a Labour government. The Fair Funding Review does exactly what it says on the tin. It makes funding fairer. It will match the level of funding our borough receives to the level of deprivation in our borough.
Councillor Tack, can I ask you to keep it on point of the budget itself, rather?
It acknowledges that under the last government, Hounslow received less than its fair share. We know there is a high level of deprivation in our borough. Only Labour is committed to change that, and this announcement will help to reverse those years of decline under the Tories. This is a budget that meets that moment, a turning point budget that sets our plans for the future. For the first time in a long time, we can say with certainty that next year will be easier. For the first time in a long time, we can dare to dream. Let's not put that at risk by letting the nightmare of Tories or reform. I wholeheartedly support this budget. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor
Madam Mayor,
Councillor-
sorry, Madam, can I just interject with a point of order? It wouldn't be the same without one. Under 8.2, we've still only got 20 minutes left before the guillotine comes in, and we've still got quite a lot to go. So could I move that we suspend standing order so we can have a full debate on this important subject, please?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Yes. In that case, we will. Thank you very much. Councillor, do we got to vote on that? Okay. Sorry. All those in favour of suspending standing orders? All those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Councillor Giles, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. For as long as I can remember, this administration has often laughed and ridiculed at Councillor McGregor for challenging the rises to service fees and changes. Tonight we've heard from Councillor Biddulph how the cost of dying pays, but only if you're the council. Over the past 8 years, the Conservative group has been lambasted by how, under Councillor Thompson's leadership from 2006 to 2008, we were able to make savings and freeze council tax, a position which benefited the council for 7 years following the management of the budget by Councillor McGregor. 1 year, this council even managed to reduce its portion of council tax. That hasn't happened for us as residents under this administration. In fact, we've had more years where this council has increased council tax to the maximum council tax available. Councillor Emsley mentioned our council tax has increased by 23% over that period. As this is now Councillor McGregor and Councillor Todd's last meeting, I'd like to thank them both for their service to this council. Their understanding and ability to scrutinise council budgets have put spotlight on poor financial management that has been incomparable. They both understand that if you look after the pennies, the pounds will look after themselves. This budget is reliant on the council increasing council tax to the full amount to ensure that this authority can receive the maximum amount as part of the fair funding review. It's presented as a balanced budget that relies on people behaving badly. Well, it would know. The revenue generated by the South Chiswick Liverpool Neighbourhood scheme resulted in £10 million worth of fines for 2 streets in just 1 year. Partly because of poor management and execution. However, we know this model of revenue generation is not sustainable. To go to a different part of the budget, I'd like to highlight the increase in social housing rents. Since 2022, we've had 7%, 7%, 7.7, 2.7 and 4.8 increases. Under the proposed budgets, this amounts to a cumulative increase of 32.7% since 2022. We know that rents have increased in the private sector too, but for many of those in social housing, they can't afford to move to the private sector. While we are living through another cost of living crisis, those proposals seem short-sighted, all in the aim of creating a balanced budget. What will the council do when residents can't pay their fines because the cost of other services has already left them broke? I've heard a lot of pieces of misinformation tonight. I think the funniest one to me is that the new leisure centre in Brentford is actually in Brentford. Actually, since 2022, and contrary much to the understanding of many in this room in the building, Brentford Leisure Centre has been in Chiswick Riverside. We're accused of selling the family jewels, but at least we didn't sell UK's gold bullion at an all-time low.
Councillor Asim, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tonight's budget is something worth pausing for. It's a budget that protects the essentials. invests in our future, and shows exactly what responsible leadership looks like. We've heard about the major investments coming to Feltham and the new jobs they will create. We've heard about the new leisure centre in Brentford, the growth along the Golden Mile, and the ambition behind our district heat network. We've heard about immediate action on cleaner streets, effectively doubling our street cleaning capacity, and the steps we're taking to make sport and leisure more accessible for younger people. These aren't small tweaks. They mean real change for real people. More jobs, more affordable homes, lower energy bills, cleaner streets, better green spaces, and more opportunities for our youth. This is local change you can see and feel. But Madam Mayor, at the heart of this budget is something even more important, and that is protecting the most vulnerable. Our 11 million investment in residential and short-term children's accommodation shows that clearly. By bringing services in-house, including the new children's home on Bedfont Lane, we are giving children with complex needs stability, continuity, and a chance to stay connected to the social workers, teachers, and networks they rely on. We're also expanding support for children with special educational needs, including the Preparation for Adulthood program, aimed at helping young people build independent, confident, and fulfilled lives. That is what this budget stands for. Not just better services, but better futures. It's a brilliant budget that safeguards our communities, lifts up those who need help most, and invests in the long-term strength of our borough. Madam Mayor, I have nothing further to add other than that I am proud of this budget, and I urge colleagues to also support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Asim. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for giving me the chance to speak tonight in support of the proposed and thoroughly thought through budget. We've heard from colleagues and they've brought up some really important aspects about this budget, but as a mum to two young children, I want to draw out a couple of areas that I think are important. So we've talked about this council investing, and this Labour Council does invest. We're investing 4.3 million to support families through our Family First programme and family hubs. Now, this programme will protect children. We will support children to have improved long-term outcomes, which will then support them into adulthood. We'll be working with families so that they have the right tools in place. This is something that not just only protects our most vulnerable, but also empowers families to stay safely together. This budget, as Councillor Asim just mentioned, is investing 1.5 million in preparation for adulthood. We know it can be difficult to find the right support for people with disabilities, and it becomes even harder when young people age out. But in Hounslow, we want to protect our children. We want our children to become adults who can be as independent as possible. Yes, Councillor Mashisho, we don't want to control them, we want to give them independence. And the only way to do that is by investing in their futures. We want to give them the best outcome, and this goes some way to paving it. We also heard earlier that we're increasing the council tax support for young people who are care leavers from 21 to 25. Now, if you're a care leaver, you're 10 times more likely not to be in education, employment, or training. Getting that respite can really support them into finding that and giving them a break. We know it can be quite difficult to have such transition programs, but young people, they want to work, and this Labour Council will support them to work. We've heard from lots of councillors today about the opportunities and the growth that's coming for these people. In Feltham, in Chiswick, where was it? Not Brentford anymore. But, you know, the area itself is considered Brentford. But anyway, what we really are trying to do is focus on early intervention and prevention. This is something that will deliver longer term outcomes. It won't be the salami slicing that Councillor Emsley was proposing by cutting staff in our prevention services, who will be paramount to supporting that we actually are able to deliver.
20 seconds, please.
And we want to ensure that the pound that we spend is spent wisely. we do listen to our residents. We all know that prevention is better than cure, and investing in our future, that is how we spend money wisely. So let's support this future generation, let's support this budget, and let's say yes to the budget.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Gill, please. Councillor Gill, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to speak. We've heard a lot from everyone today. We've heard from the Tories tonight about their doom and gloom. It's almost that they do not want this borough to succeed.
Councillor Gill,
But
it's on
this
the budget, not the
yeah,
amendment.
Yes, this budget really does mark turning point for our borough, as stated by my fellow councillors Karen Smith, Marina Sharma, Max Mosley, Bowring, and others. We support the residents of this borough. We invest in our public services. But what the Tories are proposing is cut.
Councillor Gill, it's on the budget,
Yes,
not the amendment.
I know. It is on the budget. That's what they're proposing. This budget, and also we are investing in our future. But what the Tories do, moan, moan, moan. This budget invests in every part of our borough.
Councillor Gill, on the budget, please.
This budget invests in every part of our borough, east to west, from repairing Stand on the Green River Wall to delivering New Bedford Lane Children's Home. So can I request everybody today to join in celebration some of the facts that have been proposed under this budget? They are: funding is going up. Street cleaning is going up. Investment in youth, up. Investment in voluntary sector, up. Growth, up. Affordable homes, up. Life changes to residents. Up. So everything is up. This is what this budget is proposing. But this budget thanks the real government support for local authorities, and it's making a turning point for our borough. When will the opposition find in themselves to stop talking our borough down?
Thank you, Councillor Gill. So let's come to the end of members who've asked to speak. So can I ask Councillor Rajawat to sum up, please?
Well, there we have it, Madam Mayor. I mean, if this was the start of your election campaign, go home, stay home. There's really, really no point. I mean, woeful, absolutely woeful from them. Actually, what they were really doing tonight was speaking for clickbait, because this will all end up on Facebook tomorrow with their little faces. So they look really brilliant, but they've said absolutely nothing, offered no alternatives.
Councillor Rajawat, on the budget, please.
On the budget. This is on the budget. They've offered no alternative. They've complained a lot this evening, but not amended or put an alternative in. We've already heard about that as well. And I'll let you into a little secret. They flip-flopped quite a bit. Because when I went to overview and scrutiny, Councillor Elmsley voted for the budget. When I went to Chiswick Area Forum, Councillor Thompson complimented us on our budget. So suddenly they've had a complete change overnight. I wonder what's changed. Oh, could it be an audience and some cameras? Very easily done. But we know what they are standing for. They talk about discipline. What discipline actually means is selling off this council. And I will say it again, and I will say it till I am literally blue in the face. This council is not for you to sell off, and we will not allow it. Now, you know, Councillor Dennison complains a lot about our approach. I have to say to you, Councillor Dennison, actually, I haven't changed the approach that you once employed as lead member for finance. Clearly, I'm a socialist, and you stopped being a socialist. Oh, carry on, carry on. No, look, what this comes down to is a Labour administration that has ideas, and ideas rooted within the communities that we represent. Each and every one of us is out day in, day out, week in, week out, surgery after surgery, talking to our residents. And what our residents trust us with are their hopes, their dreams, and their aspirations. And it is incumbent on us as the administration that wants to form the next administration, to provide every opportunity. It is absolutely about local voices. It's about fairer choices. And that is what this budget delivers. None of that selling off, none of the rhetoric of doom and gloom. They want to talk down the borough. At this election, we will talk up this borough. We will provide the framework to talk up this borough, and we will make sure this borough succeeds day in, day out, without fail.
Thank you, Councillor Radwat. That now moves us to the vote. There are 26 recommendations in the one vote. This will again be a recorded vote as required by law. So I will hand over to the Chief Executive to conduct the vote.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As before, I will read councillors' names out in alphabetical order. Please indicate if you are voting for the substantive recommendations, against them, or abstaining. Councillor Aksa Ahmed.
For.
Councillor Mohammed Shakil Akram.
For.
Councillor Madir Asim.
For.
Councillor Lily Bath. Councillor Rashid Bhatti.
For.
Councillor Joanna Biddulph.
Against.
Councillor Dan Bowring.
For.
Councillor Tom Bruce. Councillor Ghazala Butt.
For.
Councillor Samia Chowdhury.
For.
Councillor Ansa Chowdhury.
For.
Councillor Amy Croft.
For.
Councillor Theo Dennison. Councillor Hera Dillon.
For.
Councillor Catherine Dunn. Councillor Jack Emsley.
Against.
Councillor Adesh Farmaham.
For.
Councillor Gabriella Giles.
Against.
Councillor Ranjit Gill.
For.
Councillor Ajmer Gerawal.
For.
Councillor Pritam Gerawal.
For.
Councillor Shivraj Gerawal. Councillor Bishnu Gorong.
For.
Councillor Farah Kamram.
For.
Councillor Gurmal Lal. Councillor Guy Lambert.
For.
Councillor Karamat Malik. Gone. Oh. Councillor Gerald McGregor. Councillor Hina Mir. Councillor Alan Mitchell. Councillor Max Mosley. Councillor Ron Mashiso.
Against.
Councillor Samina Nagra.
For.
Councillor Shantanu Rajawat. Councillor Saya Raza.
For.
Councillor Farah Raymond.
For.
Councillor Danish Saeed. Councillor Sue Sampson.
For.
Councillor Salman Shaheen. Councillor Marina Sharma.
For.
Councillor Emma Sidhu.
For.
Councillor Ragwinder Sidhu. Councillor Karen Smith.
For.
Councillor John Stroud Turp. Councillor Kuldeep Tak.
For.
Councillor Aisha Tariq.
For.
Councillor Peter Thompson. Councillor John Todd. Councillor Mohammed Amir. So the recommendations are agreed.
That now concludes the debate on the council budget report. May I thank members for their input. We now move to agenda item 5, members' schemes of allowances 2026-27. We move now to agenda item 5. Oh, I've just said that, so I won't say it again. Can I invite Councillor Rajawat to propose the report, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a report that comes to every budget setting meeting, actually. On the member scheme of allowances, we are not proposing any changes beyond what was agreed the last year and the year before that. On member schemes of allowances, our allowances are pegged to the local government pay award, so they will increase according to whatever that is agreed. A fairly straightforward report, and I formally move it.
Thank you, Councillor Rajawat. Councillor Bruce, can I ask you to second and speak if you wish to?
Happy to second and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Can I invite members to debate if they wish? Councillor Emsley.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't oppose the principle of uplifting councillor allowances based on the uplifts given to councillor employees. I do just want to make a point about the importance that in return for allowances, and in particular special responsibilities allowances, residents do expect councillors to fulfil a number of core services. And so I just ask all councillors in this room to think about what it looks like to increase allowances here while simultaneously cancelling both the next borough council meeting and all but one area forum between now and the election. I'm very proud to be the chair of the Chiswick Area Forum. That commands an allowance that increases in this report. It's a fantastic chance for the community I represent to receive updates from the council, hear about the work being done by local groups, engage with local councillors. I'm doubly proud to say that my area forum is going ahead on March the 17th. But every other area forum in the borough, all Labour run, I'm afraid, is now been inexplicably cancelled between now and the election. That's tens of thousands who won't have the same benefits and the same opportunity for direct engagement as residents in Chiswick. And yet every single chair and vice chair of those cancelled area forums will still receive their special responsibility allowance. I gently suggest, if you're not prepared to do your job and organise these meetings, maybe hand it back or pass over to a councillor who will do it for you. Madam Mayor, in the course of this debate, it will rightly be pointed out that councillors work hard, and that should be recognised through the proposals in this report. And that's why I support the report and the principle behind it. But equally, residents rightly demand that if you're receiving taxpayer money, you should do the job that you are paid to do. And in the case of those who've decided to cancel meetings between now and the election, there should be some reflection on whether they can genuinely say they're offering good value for money. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Emsley. Councillor Bidoff, please.
On a similar theme, Madam Mayor, as I did last year, I'm starting with an apology for brushing off the dust of comments I've made many times before. It's about value for money, as Councillor Emsley has just said. We agreed, as Councillor Rajawat has said, that allowances would increase in line with staff pay. We must be mindful that many of the residents, the people that we serve, residents and business ratepayers, are struggling to cope with huge increased costs, employers' national insurance, business rates, the cost of living, and face extremely uncertain futures, no certain increases for them. Let's look at where Hounslow sits in the league table of members' allowances. London Council's most recent data for 24-25 reveals that only 5 of the 32 London councils have members' allowances higher than here in Hounslow. Newham at £15,960 a year, then Lambeth, Camden, Southwark and Brent, followed by Hounslow at £13,048. All 6 are Labour councils. We must, as Councillor Emsley has said, we must give value for money. The allowance isn't meant to compensate for the work of an engaged, hard-working, proactive councillor. It is recognition of time spent, not recompense. It might be pennies for some of us, but when councillors do little, when they take advantage, doing what residents aren't allowed to do, voters have every right to object, and loudly. On special responsibility allowances, SRAs, as Councillor Emsley has said, we have consistently questioned the Cabinet Assistant role. First, it means that more than 75% of Hounslow councillors receive SRAs, when the guidance is that no more than 50% should do so. Second, they are non-jobs, used to shore up a leader's wobbly majority, words that I came up with a few years ago, which have been pinched by Councillor Dennison and then pinched this year by Councillor Lambert. I'm flattered. Right now, we are all out campaigning for the local election. As Councillor Rajawat has admitted, it isn't only we Conservatives who hear at door after door that residents want their pavements fixed, their roads swept, potholes filled. This budget news is too little and 4 years too late, many more years than that. As we have said, we would abolish these 2 non-jobs and spend more money on core services that residents expect and deserve. Madam Mayor, as I say every year, whatever we receive, we must prove to our residents and business ratepayers that we deliver value for money. It's not our money. It is our residents and our business ratepayers' money. We were elected to serve them,
20
not
seconds,
ourselves.
Councillor Biddulph.
Thank you. We were elected to serve them, not ourselves. That must always be our focus.
Thank you, Councillor Biddulph. Councillor Dennison, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It wouldn't surprise anybody to hear I will be opposing this report when it is moved to a vote. I mean, I do so because my position on councillors' allowances has only hardened over the years. Once upon a time, in another place, I was elected as a councillor and I claimed nothing for 4 years. I don't think that actually anybody who comes onto a council for the betterment of their financial health is worth electing. And unfortunately, in this council, allowances have become the beating heart of one of the groups on this council, the largest group on this council. If you look at the special responsibility allowances, 75% of the special responsibility allowances go to Labour members. There are so many special responsibility allowances that virtually every single Labour member gets one. So while the basic allowance is 13,000 or whatever, the average that Labour councillors get is 25,000, greater than the average pay of people in this borough. And yet it's not meant to be a job. It's an allowance to take care of the time and trouble and some additional costs involved in being a councillor. It is not an incentive for you to swap out of work and just be a full-time politician. It is there to support you in your work. And to be honest, this report is incompetent in terms of its recommendation. It makes no reference to how much this report will involve. And it should. The schedule does not have next year's allowance scheme. It has this year's allowance scheme. And when we think about, uprate it for inflation, that's not what this report is recommending. It says uprate it in line with the local government uprate of employers claim, the green book claim. That's 10%. At the moment, it's 10%. That's what they're discussing. Do you think we should have a 10% increase allowances? I don't think so. Worse than that, it makes no reference to what will be the automatic uprating of all your allowances, because on the basis of the Secretary of State's decision on the 24th of February, now, despite the fact that it is not a job, you will be entitled from the 11th of May to join the local government pension scheme. What does that mean?
20
That means the taxpayer through the council will be uprating what it pays you by another 19.1%. And I do not think in this time, in this place, that should be allowed.
Thank you, Councillor Dennison. Councillor Mshisho, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Accountability matters, and it's starting to fade in this borough. Put it this way, if a plumber or an electrician cancelled a job on you, they would not receive pay. Why should the public sector be any different? In Hounslow, there seems to be a growing disconnect between the principles that we as elected officials should be accountable to the people who elected us. And residents, therefore, Madam Mayor, residents, therefore, whether they can decide whether to attend our statutory public meetings if they like. It's not up to us. The area forums should go ahead, and that the authority rests solely with the public, not with the elected officials. When I chaired a Chiswick area forum very recently, an officer contacted me once to try and cancel the area forum. Why? Because it clashed with Labour Party conference. And I refused. Where public meetings are cancelled by elected officials, special responsibility allowance, as my colleague Councillor Elmsley said, should be linked to that. And it should be set, we should be looking to return those allowances on that occasion. Accountability just might start to be back in Hounslow again if we do that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mashishe. Councillor McGregor, please.
I regard moving on to the public pension as an absolute red line. I'm sure you're familiar with red lines. We've had enough of them from our current Prime Minister. But the important thing about the pension fund accretion is that we are not employees. We are stipendiaries. We get an allowance. And we have always, in Hounslow, kept that difference very clear cut. It's a mistake, a complete lack of integrity to actually say to councillors, oh, by the way, you can join the public pension scheme. And by the way, it's uprated every year in line with whatever inflation might be. And you can claim it once you've done 11 years worth of service. That's not good enough. We are elected. We're not employed. Anyone who thinks that they should be able to join the public pension scheme, who is not an officer and a councillor, should start thinking very carefully about the nature of what this means to the public at large. Don't forget, the public pension schemes, both for local government and for the civil service, is the biggest single liability on the general fund balance sheet of the United Kingdom. We are talking about trillions of unallocated funding to meet future pensions. And I have to tell you, as someone who advises governments around the world on financial and fiscal matters, very few other countries do this. We do it because we copied what we've done with the National Health Service. We don't
Councillor
want Hounslow
McGregor.
getting involved in this. This is not
Councillor
appropriate
McGregor,
for this budget.
I don't think that's not relevant to this particular
Madam
item.
Mayor, I'm not quite sure why you think that. It is entirely relevant because it's unfunded. If we move into having pensions for Hounslow councils, are they going to be drawing off the Hounslow Council pension scheme or some other scheme? If they're drawing off the Hounslow Council scheme, they will be putting extra pressure on the ability of the scheme to balance. That is not appropriate behaviour for any councillor to get involved in.
Thank you, Councillor McGregor. Councillor Bruce.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Some very interesting comments this evening about something that has broadly been supported over the last few years. Quite a similar report has come through to council, looking at our allowance scheme and how the uplift is linked to the local government increase, and the dependents should go up relative to London living wage. And that's been quite a standard thing. So we've had the same sort of arguments from the other side previously, and there are some interesting ideas. If we start with an idea that's seemed to come out from one member this evening, was about, well, perhaps we shouldn't get any allowance at all. It should be zero. I mean, I have heard that from people, and that's absolutely fine. Perhaps we shouldn't get an allowance at all. I'm pretty sure at one point, maybe not in the borough's existence, but under previous schemes, there were ways that people wouldn't get any recompense. In fact, when I became a councillor, I didn't realise that you did. So I, stood on the basis that you wouldn't. But it does mean only certain people really could stand and only do certain things. So in a sense, I think most people would agree, okay, fine, you can't have that. It might be okay for Councillor Dennison, but for most people who need to earn money, there has to be a bit of a better balance there. So we had another suggestion about it should be linked to the number of meetings that you hold. And I've heard that as well, actually. And I think we had that here. If you turned up to a meeting and a meeting was a certain length of time, you got a certain amount of money. And if it went over a bit more, then you got a bit more money. But again, it becomes linked to a meeting. Whereas actually, some people might do more work behind the scenes. Other people might do less work behind the scenes, but more in the meeting. And could you stretch a meeting as long as you can into the night? Could we go on until 2 in the morning and get even more money? And there's the possibility of that. So look, what we've got here is a scheme that is pretty much universal. Most councils, I don't know that any don't, maybe they do, but pretty much universal. This is what people follow. It's pretty much standard across London in terms of the allowance. And it's about the work, not in one meeting, not having one meeting. I don't go and meet residents in one meeting. I was out meeting residents today and yesterday and last week and last month, and we all were. And we all do that because that is what the role is about. Now, we know we go and do it at different amounts. I'm able to do it far more and go and meet far more people. I'm the deputy leader of the council. I hold a portfolio and I do get an allowance that is to the state of that, to the standard of that. And that's quite right. And I should be out there and I should be being seen and I should be engaging with local people and residents and businesses and the like, because that's what the role demands. We do that because that's what the role demands. And if we don't, then there is an opportunity for residents to look at us and say, well, we think it should be someone else. And that's why we have elections every 4 years. So I don't want to hear this nonsense from the opposition. This is a very, very standard report, and I am happy to support it.
Can I ask you to sum up, please, Councillor Radwat?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I mean, it's standard from the Conservatives, smoke and mirrors about allowances and trying to attack us for no reason. We know that, as Councillor Bruce said, allowances do encourage underrepresented groups to come forward and think about standing for public office, and that's absolutely the right thing to do. As Councillor Bruce said, meetings aren't the only forum. Actually, a lot of our SRA holders don't get their SRA because they attend meetings. They do valuable work in our communities, helping our communities, and that is far more important. If you, Councillor Elmsley, wish to hold your area forum, that is fine. More clickbait, more for Facebook. Happy days. We all like your face as well. Councillor Biddulph, I mean, oh, well, no, I'm not sure. Wobbly majority, what wobbly majority? Where is it? Where is it? Point it out. No, you can't. To Councillor Dennison, I heard you say in a previous life you had given up your allowance. Is that you confirming that you've given up your allowance whilst here or not? Because I didn't hear you say that. But of course, any member has the opportunity to forego any part of their allowance if they so wish. And to Councillor Mashisho, as far as I'm aware, as Vice Chair, you didn't give up your allowance at any point. No Conservative has given up their allowance at any point over the last 4 years. Back to Councillor Dennison, I think it's fundamentally misleading to talk about the 10% that is the current pay claim. That is not the final figure that pay will go up by. I'm afraid not, Councillor McGregor, sorry. And you know that. And you know you are willfully misleading this meeting by trying to peddle that line that it is 10%. And that is deliberate on your part because it suits your leaflet. We are calling you out on it right now. Look, the allowances scheme.
I can't hear anything for the chuntering from over here. I'm sorry.
A lot of talking. Look, it's up to our opposition what they want to do with the allowances. This should have been a straightforward report. They've used it for more political posturing, and they've completely lost the point again. Can we just move to the vote, Madam Mayor?
Certainly. Let's move to the vote in that case. So I'm going to move to the vote. There are 3 recommendations to approve or not. Can I ask for all votes in favour, please? All votes against? And any abstentions? Thank you. Those recommendations are passed. Thank you for your contributions. Now on to agenda item 6, which is pay policy statement. We come to the last substantive item on the of the evening at item 6, and I would like to now invite Councillor Shantanu Rajwat to propose the report.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'm very pleased to propose the report on the pay policy statement, which, as we all know, is a statutory requirement, but actually also a statement about our values as an administration. It talks about how we pay, how we pay people says something about who we are as a organisation. So to bring out some of the highlights from the report, on the pay multiple, that's the relationship between the highest to the lowest paid, is 8.5. Our median pay multiple remains at 5.2. That is stable, sensible, and in line with benchmarking against neighbouring boroughs. We believe that senior pay is proportionate to the size and complexity of this authority. And we are not an organisation where the gap at the top keeps widening. Now, as you know, on gender pay, we do have to report on gender pay. On our median gender pay gap is 3.7%, which is down on last year and well below the national average of 7%. The reason for the decrease in the gap is likely to be due to the increase in the percentage of women in our upper middle quartile roles. So that's roles PO2 to PO4 from 67.9 to 69.7. That's very confusing. More women are progressing into upper middle and senior roles, which actually I think is a absolutely right thing and a good news story. What we don't have to report on, but we choose to, is ethnicity and disability. So we do publish that data voluntarily because in our view, transparency does matter. Our ethnicity pay gap has reduced to 3.7% and our disability pay gap is minus 2.1%. And what that actually means is that disabled colleagues earn more per hour on average than able-bodied equivalents. And that is progress, but we know there is absolutely more to do. But of course, this report is so much more than just statistics. We have to carry on working at this. So we have diverse recruitment panels at senior level, plenty of internal progression opportunities, apprenticeships for underrepresented groups, work experience for young people, including care experience young people, faster and better reasonable adjustments, and a 2-year diversity and inclusion action plan driving further change. So in summary, stable pay ratios, a gender pay gap significantly below national levels, reduction in the ethnicity pay gap, positive disability pay data, and a clear action behind the numbers. Transparent, responsible, and making progress. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rajawat. Councillor Bruce, can I invite you to second and speak if you wish?
Happy to second and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Then we will open it for debate. We will close the debate. Councillor Rajawat, would you like to sum up or move straight to the vote?
Straight to the vote, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Fabulous then. In that case, there are 2 recommendations, one for noting and one for agreeing. Can I ask all those in favour to raise your hand? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. Then that is passed. Thank you for your contributions. Next agenda item. We now come to appointments, which is a standing item on our agenda. Are there any nominations for appointments? I'm afraid we don't have the power to do that here, Councillor McGregor. As there are none, we will move to the next agenda item. Decisions taken under urgency arrangements. Can I ask members to note the report, please? Thank you. So finally, that takes us to other matters that I consider urgent, and I have a few. But I won't take too long. There are no urgent matters as such, but I would like to say a few words. I would like to thank everybody for their attendance this evening and their contributions. May I remind you to sign the attendance book if you have not already done so. As we've reached the last council meeting of this council term, I'd also like to thank all members of this council over the last 4 years for your positive involvement at council meetings, your hard work for your constituents and your successful contributions to the life of Hounslow and all of its residents. May I also say that chairing this meeting for the last year has significantly aged me. Everyone in this council chamber, whether they are standing down at this election or putting themselves up to stand again for election, and of course all of those councillors who've been councillors in this term but are not with us this evening for one reason or another, can be proud of their dedicated and honest public service. So as part of that, I would like to particularly to remember our late friends, Councillor Sukhbir Dhaliwal and Councillor Richard Foote, who passed away in office during this council term and who both remain much missed. And in a similar frame of mind, as we come to the end of our 60th anniversary of the creation of the London Borough of Hounslow, I think it right to pay a special tribute to a small number of very long-serving councillors who are retiring after many decades of service. Both Councillors John Todd and Councillor Gerald McGregor will be standing down at election and after more than 40 years of combined public service between them. And Councillor Jagdish Sharma is also retiring as a member after a frankly astonishing 52 years. After 52 years of continuous service, which equates to 84% of the time that the council has been alive, which is really no mean feat. So we are unlikely to see anything like that again. We salute Councillors Sharma, Councillor Todd and Councillor McGregor, and all the equally dedicated members who are leaving the council in May. Thank you so much for your service. Elections are a cornerstone of democracy, and our democratic inheritance is one of the greatest things that we have in this country. And as just a quick glance around the globe shows, also one of the most precious. To be part of it as a candidate or as an elector is to be part of something wonderful. And to conclude, as none of us can know what our fates are, political or otherwise, I would just like to wish you well for the future, whether that be part of the next council or not. So however you find yourselves in May, I wish you great success and happiness in all of the areas of your lives. That concludes this evening's meeting. Thank you all very much.